All right, my friends, if I hit all the right buttons, which I did, I'm confident we are live again for another exciting episode of Talk Power BI. We hang out here every Friday. If you haven't, why haven't you? Make sure you subscribe, click that bell so you're notified whenever we go live to talk about Power BI and answer your Power BI questions. Let me first say hello to our friends on the phone. Steve is on the phone with me, so is Tom Farwell. Good to have you guys on, Steve, as always. So let me check in with you guys first before while the YouTube crowd is hopping on, which actually it's already there. So Steve, how are things with you?
Things are good. I did pre-submit for today.
Ooh, exciting! Yeah, that's great.
I
Uh-huh.
have what hopefully will be an interesting exercise. It
All
is
right,
to me.
all right. That's great.
Um,
Looking forward to that. So I know briefly you had mentioned that you were kind of filling in for somebody who was yeah, and that made things a little bit busier for you. Has that phase kind of passed, and is it kind of back to normal?
yeah, more or less. This is a very
Okay.
busy time for us with the Triple Crown, Kentucky Derby,
Ah,
Preakness.
all right, all
So
right.
it's kind of a it's we got a lot to do, but once we get it through this, it'll settle down a little bit. But
Yeah,
I've been finding time to do some things.
that's great. So yeah, folks, if there's any example out there of like, hey, any company out there can use Power BI. Pretty much anybody has data, which is everybody these days. Steve works at a company which owns racetracks, so that's I always find that super exciting.
Yeah,
Cool. Tom,
it's
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say I think I've got some applications of that are unique. So you're right.
Yeah.
Anybody can
Mm-hmm.
use it. It's very broad in its application.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah, and of course, in a previous episode, the and of course you were there for two, the real Power BI participants, and of course seeing and hearing Della and Mark talk about their stuff. Of course, I had worked with surveys, and that turns out to be one of the favorite areas of mine in Power BI because it's there's a lot of fun you can do. You can have with surveys with Power BI. I love that because it's one of those things which was really hard to do in the old world, but in the new world, but if you know what you're doing, it can be really easy. So it was good to hear them talk about that. But yeah, I'm always surprised by, pleasantly surprised whenever I hear kind of like, oh yeah, you're doing it for this industry and for this purpose. That's great, I guess. That's always good to hear. All right, great. Let me quickly check in on YouTube, everybody. So hey, if you're joining us live, do type in. Let me know that you're on. Let us know where you're watching us from. I always love hearing that. I'm gonna just shout out a few hellos. I see Arun. Hello, Arun. Hans is back again. I think I've seen you around the column. Kuram is part of the Learn Power BI family, right? So Kuram, I think you joined the program as far as I can remember, and if so, you should also have gotten an email to with your special pass to dial into the call if you like. And again, a lot of students just watch us on YouTube as well. Talking about that, Loretta Sue is here from Tampa, Florida, as always, so that's great. She's also a member of the Learn Power BI family. Manu says hello. Well, actually, he has a question. We'll get to questions in a bit. Patrick says hi. Oh, he has a question as well. We'll get to your questions in a little bit. Gene says good morning from San Francisco. Yeah, so these days, so folks, the crazy thing is the folks who are working on Team Avi. By the way, a huge shout out to Team Avi. Every member who has been part of Team Avi is now and is going to be in the future. Uh, they're amazing. They're what make this possible. They amplify my impact. And I didn't plan it out this way, but we've ended up in folks in four different countries, four different time zones as well. So it gets a little crazy. So I've now conditioned myself to never say good morning, good evening, good night because I have no idea. I mean, it's just so hard to keep up. So I just say good day, mate, or something like that. But Gene is for San Francisco, so yep, it is a morning for me. Eric says morning, Avi. Kuduro is here. Kuduro is here. Uh, did, uh, mm, Oh boy. So I was just glancing off of this, but I'm glad this caught my eye. So Gene is saying, Avi, thanks to your training course, I landed a full-time job creating Power BI reports for a mid-sized company in San Francisco. My question is, what is the best practice for creating a data model? We can certainly talk about that. Logan from Coimbatore, India. Hello, my friend. It's my first time here with you, Kudura. That's great. Good to have you on. So yeah, actually, some folks may be joining for the first time. So this is generally, you know, so I was joking about last time, like, uh, I, man, this is awesome for me. This is just me. I love hanging out with you guys. Love having fun. So yeah, that's cool. But we do try to follow some structure, although sometimes it gets a little crazy as we dive into topics. But this one, I would like to restart this. This one we do practice this with inside our team. So whenever we have a team Avi meeting, at every meeting, we start off by sharing a hashtag win, and it could be big or small. It could be work related or personal. Doesn't matter. I often mention my dog. My dog shows up everywhere, and we, by the way, we end with a hashtag gratitude, something that you feel grateful for. And I really think that it has changed the tone of our meetings completely. So that's been powerful, and I had this idea to do this in here as well. And nothing on you guys. I haven't been disciplined enough to call it out. But of course, Gene already shared a hashtag win, so that's awesome. That's great. So thank you for that. But the general order is that we go kind of round robin. So the first dibs go to the Learn Power BI students who are on the phone, uh, and then we pick something up from YouTube chat, and then yeah, we just repeat. Well, that's kind of a sideways smiley, which is nice. And later, not always, but often, we open the phone line. So YouTube, you don't have to be a student. I'm here to just, well, yeah, I mean, just talk Power BI. So we can have you call in as well. So the first one we would go, actually before that. So Steve, I do want to kickstart with you, but I wanted to go through some key announcements, my friends. So announcements. The biggest one is women in Power BI. Now, I'll admit, guys, that thinking about this topic, it has been on my mind for a while, but I I, I just felt uncomfortable. I like, gosh, am I really the right guy to be bringing this up? I mean, for one, I'm a guy, but I have overcome all of that and gone out and set this up and reached out to some folks about this, and I've been blown away by the feedback, by the positive feedback. So let me give you some context about this. So this is coming on May 31. I sent an email about that this morning, which is rare. We usually talk about today's Power BI, but this is important to me. So why is this important to me? So I'll admit I'm probably uh, like many of you. I watch the news and I read the statistics, but then frankly I don't really care because I don't know if it happens to you, but I know for me there's this phenomena where anything that's happening in the news is this outside world. It's not me, So I just okay, such bad things are happening out there, right? So, and we get desensitized. We don't think about it until it impacts our world. So, folks, so the same thing happened to me. I mean, this is something issue which was in the back of my mind. I mean, yeah, I mean, we would discuss it sometimes at work. I remember Microsoft is always um, somewhere there. So these discussions are out there. But besides that, I never really cared, I would admit, and certainly never really took any action or thought about it too much. But that changed because of one thing. So around the time when we crossed 500 students in a program, which happened a few months ago now, we just went in, me with Team Avi, we went in and we wanted to get a better understanding of who exactly is it that we are serving. So amongst the other things that we looked at, one thing that we looked at was, hey, the best we can estimate how many of these are women versus men. Now, even with optimistic estimates, it was clear that less than 20% were women. Now, that shocked me. So again, I mean, all these numbers you see in the media is like, I don't know, that's not me, but this was me, and that had me thinking. Now I have a 10-year old daughter, and I have a 14-year-old son. And what I believe is that this topic isn't really about women, right? It's not about empowering women, anything like that. I think it's about our society. And I believe that an equal, fair, and just society is good for everybody, not just women, right? So it's not about that, but it is one of those, kind of those totem poles. It's a sign that hey, something is wrong. Something maybe needs to be fixed. So so again, I mean, I had ignored it for so long, but now it kind of struck home, and like, hey, this is me, my course, and of course, Power BI is my backyard. I can't change the world, but maybe I can influence something in this world. So we're kicking it off, and I in my mind, it's going to be like the first thing, a kickoff. We'll see where this goes from here, but we're kicking it off by inviting some really amazing women in Power BI with some incredibly powerful stories. So we're going to have them on. And I also like it from the fact that I think we've all been inundated by stats. And folks, of course, I'm a numbers guy. I love numbers, but sometimes, I don't know, sometimes that's not what you need, right? And you need to, and this might be one of those times. We've all seen those numbers, but I want to hear more of a personal account. I just want to hear, almost be face to face. I mean, these folks would have their webcams on, and just kind of hear their side. He just hear more about this topic. That's it, right? So we'll talk about Power BI. I want to hear their stories as well, and then talk about this issue and really just see where it goes. So I would like to invite you, and I would definitely like to invite all of you, right? So I just it'll be yeah, it's not like only the women need to show up for this. So again, if you care about our society and you care about this idea, then I hope you all join me in this discussion. And of course, we'll leave some time for kind of Q&A, or I would definitely want to hear kind of your feedback about this too. So that's something. Yeah, it's big in my mind. So May 31, Woman in Power BI, be there. Okay, all right, that was awesome. That was awesome, folks. I'm glad I got to talk to you about that. Okay, cool. So we are. Let's kick it off with. Let's dive in. Is everybody ready? Let me just do a quick scan of. So Rang Subble says good morning, Avi. Bruce says hi. Charles from Holland, Michigan. Oh, that threw me off. It's Holland. Oh, Michigan. Okay, got it. Now, of course, we have. So I don't know if it's me, but U.S. seems to have. They don't seem to be very creative when it comes to names. I mean, for one, they took everything in England and put a new on it. So New York. I mean, seriously, guys. No, anyway. I mean, I get it, right? So maybe they were missing home or something. So there's all of that stuff, but then there's Delhi, and then there's Paris, and apparently Holland, Michigan. So, well, I guess it's a good thing. Picius says hello from Thessaloniki, Greece. Okay, that's awesome. All right, great. So I think I caught everybody. So, folks, so again, we kind of round robin. So, first one goes to Steve. So, Steve, you said you pre-submit it. Is it in the Slack channel or in a Facebook?
Yeah, yes, it's actually in both.
Oh,
And
okay.
I also pasted the link in the
Oh,
chat box.
oh, gosh, you make it so easy for me, Steve. All right, great. So let's see. Oh, and of course,
And
hey, I will also shout out to all the folks on the phone. Hans is here from Belgium. Mahindra is here. Uh, and I think the right way to say it is Nicholas. You can correct me if that's wrong. Nicholas Jessen? Am I saying your name right? Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe we don't have audio. All right, and I already said hello to Steve. So certainly. Oh no, I'm not saying it right. Nicolaj. Okay. Hopefully you can get your mic working because I want to hear from you. All right. So we have a file from Steve. Bringing it up right now. Praveen says hi. Jen Nabel is here. Jen, always good to see you here. And oh boy. Okay, you got a few files from me.
well, yeah, the reason that you've got four XML files which represent the data.
Mm-hmm.
This is really a Power Query M question. So
Oh, okay, got it. And
without that, I don't know how well that would work.
got it. And this is the data is kosher, right? We can share it with the
Oh
world.
yeah, it's
Awesome. Yeah,
public information.
that's great. Now the odd thing is I can't find out where
And
it's on.
if you feel like it would be better, I can just share my screen and do some of this, whatever you think's best.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm trying to figure it out. Where did the? Oh, hold on, guys. Ah, there we go. So actually, yeah. Why don't you drive for a bit, and if I need, okay. So we'll make you the presenter while
All right.
I save my files here. Mm. Great. So yeah, we're
So, can you see my screen? No?
yes,
Yes.
yes. I'm looking at
Yes.
the simulcast.
Okay. You see a couple slicers there with some, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's it. All right. You got it. So, what we have here in this particular case, there are 4 XML files that sit in a
Mm-hmm.
folder
All right.
that have the schedules of racetracks. Each file is a month. So there's one file for
Got
May,
it.
one file for June, one file for July, August,
Okay.
and let me open up the.
Okay. I'm making notes as you speak. Just if you hear me typing.
Sure. So just I, so there's I'll start at the beginning there. You can see this is the file. It's the folder it's pointing to.
Got it.
It's got some other stuff in it, but so
Yeah.
I filter out. I just filter it down to XML, and then
Mm-hmm.
just essentially I have a function that takes that particular XML
Mm-hmm.
and expands it.
Got it.
So what you wind up with here is a very comprehensive list of all racetracks. And I don't want all racetracks. I want a subset of these racetracks. And I also don't like some of the names that by default are listed in the track column. So I want to
Got it.
change those names. For example, this this one that's down here, Mountaineer Casino Racetrack and Resort, that's too long. That just needs to
Yeah.
be Mountaineer. So I continued along, and then let me get down to the point where,
So wait, the fixes that you mentioned,
yeah,
the filtering you're doing here, and the names that you didn't like, you're also changing it here. Is it?
yes,
Show me one of those
yes.
changes,
Okay,
like where
let's
you
see
didn't
here.
like the name.
All right, so for example, here at the Mountaineer Racetrack and Casino in line, looks like about 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Uh-huh.
over in this extreme right column,
Yeah.
it's changed the name by invoking a function.
That's pretty fancy, Steve. That's great. All right. Cool. Got it.
So what? And then what I've done in that same function, if I don't want that track at all, I just change the name to a blank, and then I filter out the blanks. So it's like right here, you're going to see those blanks in that right-hand column. They just get filtered out.
Or got it. Got it.
And then the other stuff is just kind of housekeeping stuff where I kind of concatenate the two, the time and the track, just for other purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but so that's all well and good. And here's this is
The function.
the function, and it's very long, and it's very uh,
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and then, I mean, it all started with this stuff down here, which was actually created quite easily through in
Yeah.
Excel, believe it or not. So, but then I had some other instances where if the
Yeah.
post time was something, and it got just, and this worked okay. And then
Yeah.
I got to thinking. I said,
Yeah.
I saw a thing on the internet on PowerPIPro which was a switch function in Power Query.
I don't think Power Query has it. Power DAX has it.
Well,
Oh, you
yeah.
can create. Oh, got it. You can create your
So
own custom switch function. Yeah, got it.
so this is kind of
Yeah, yeah,
a
perfect.
switch function, and this works. However,
Yeah,
what I'm trying to do is have multiple inputs
yeah, yeah. And
using
yeah,
using this switch function. So something along the lines of this. But so if you have this track and this time, it's this.
yeah,
But right down here in this, I don't understand them enough to know, is it even doable? Or how would you change this? This is the line that the commented out line is the one that is the original. And then somehow can you alter that
yeah,
so that this will look at both inputs and say, if this and this, then that.
yeah. Is this exactly the desired end result for the switch statement, like the ones you have listed here, or that's just a sample? Like you have BEL time this Belmont CD.
No, that'd be real.
That would be real.
So
But
if both of those inputs are true,
yeah, then return
then
Belmont. Yeah,
give me the third one.
got it.
And I can do it with only one input. That's not a problem.
Got it. But can I ask? So this looks simple and understandable, but when you showed me the fixed post times, that didn't look simple. Is it just because the elegance of the switch function? So if you don't mind going back to that function fixed post times. So what I'm trying to understand is what you showed just now in this function.
There was two of them. There was this one. This was fixed.
Yeah. So
this was shortened names and call.
Yeah. So, is the switch function? Is switch function not replacing this, or is it?
I would think it would replace it if you look at purely this where there's only one input down there, these lines at the bottom, like if track equal Aiken, then down there it would work because there's one input, one output. The track is the only input in that case. Where it gets more complicated is if there's multiple.
Yeah, but you are already handling multiple inputs in this function, right?
Yes, but this is with not using a switch statement. This is just using a code.
Got it. But what I'm trying to understand is, so this long list of if then. Let's assume we can get the function switch 3 to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the short list, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items there on that function switch 3. Is that list of 6 items or 6 conditions on multiple parameters completely replace this whole list?
Well, I'd have to expand that to be more
Got it.
items. Okay. That was just a sample, small.
Okay.
Just to see if it would work.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So I'll actually back up a bit and see. I don't know. Just approach it my way, and we'll see how far we go.
Sure.
All right. Okay. So I'll take back presenter bit.
Hello?
Hey, Susan.
Yes.
Wait, I'm not sure if they're
Hey,
talking.
I'm good. How are you?
Okay. I don't think they were talking to us. Okay. It happens in web calls. Big presenter. And all right. So Steve, can
Oh,
you see your screen again now?
oh, you need to. You want me to share my screen again?
No, no, no. Can you see
Oh
my
no.
screen?
Oh yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
cool. All right. So, man, I'm thinking. Let me do this in adventure work. So the funny thing is, we were talking about applications of Power BI in different realms and all that stuff, and racetrack and your industry and other stories that I've heard, surveys, all that. But funny thing is that in a way, to me, all data has started to look like AdventureWorks. It looks like, oh, that's just a variation. I could do it this way. So believe it or not, the situation that you have, we had it pretty similar in Microsoft, but this was, and I really feel that the situation was strikingly similar to yours, even though the context is completely different. So in our case, we had like department names or these things coming from the system, how the finances rolled up, and they had this rich hierarchy, the cost center hierarchy. So the cost center rolled into this, into which rolled into business unit, and which rolled into this. All right, so they had this rich hierarchy, which was stored in the system, but of course, people almost needed to do exactly what you're trying to do, was say, hey, I don't want all of that. I want it filtered. And it did become a pretty complicated setup in the sense that they would say things like this. So, and again, I mean, it's different, obviously, but it's also similar. So they would say, for this business unit, all cost centers um, need to be moved to I don't know. Really, John is in charge of that, right? So something that was, I don't know, due to some reason wasn't reflected correctly, but in a specific business unit, not all cost centers, but in these specific divisions, right? The next level, only those cost centers, right? So we had these kind of really complicated rules, and sometimes it was like it was a specific cost center. So we had these rules at different levels of hierarchy of how the system information needed to be changed. It wasn't quite what we wanted to see, and it's possible, it's quite likely actually. I don't remember that specifically, but we were probably renaming things, right? So I'm gonna go with that, and let's see how far we get, and then we're gonna backtrack to the problem you have, and maybe tackle your specific issue. That how does that switch function I make it work for multiple parameters. But for now, let's just go to AdventureWorks, and I'm gonna let's do this. So in AdventureWorks, we have. I'm trying to think what change do we make? Maybe in the product category subcategory. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay, so let's come over here, and what we're gonna do is I just want to look at the current product category subcategory, see what it looks like. So we'll say category subcategory, and why isn't it working? Oh, there you go. And I'm gonna make the size a little bit bigger. Oh, there we go. Maybe. So I wanted to add two things to it. It would be too crazy if I add color. Probably. Let me just do color separately. Maybe we do category and color. Let's try that. Oh, it's not too bad. Okay, got it. This we're on to something here. Okay. Okay, so really the challenge is selecting based on multiple parameters. So what if we said that we're gonna select, so we are adventurizing our data. So what if we, I think we would get pretty close if we say if they're accessories and they're blue, and if they're clothing and they're yellow. We just want to do something with them. I don't even know what, but if we can do that. So the way I do this is what I call manage by exception. So earlier, the way let's go look at something else actually. Let's look at this one. So again, for Microsoft, we had departments, right? The whole cost center hierarchy. And when somebody didn't like the standard one, what they did was they downloaded the whole hierarchy, and I'm pretty sure they did this. They manually updated the ones that needed to be changed. So all the renaming or all of that stuff, they did it manually. But that, of course, is catastrophic, because then you get a copy and it's your copy. It's not being maintained by the system. It's so if new cost center gets added, well, guess what? It's not in your manually updated copy. So it just works once, but it's very expensive to maintain going forward. So if I had some logic where I would just define it in what I call an exception file. So it wouldn't have the complete copy of all my cost centers and business units and everything. It'll just have the specific exceptions. So Steve, I'll give you the general approach. I'm frankly not 100% sure if it'll apply in your specific scenario, but I think you might find it helpful in general, because even if it doesn't apply in this specific scenario, it's highly likely that you would encounter it somewhere else. So so the way I would do is I would define those exceptions. So in our case, we had said blue accessories, yellow clothing. So I'll say category, category color, and I'll say accessories, blue, clothing, yellow. And I would usually keep that in a separate file, probably in a SharePoint or something. Also, because usually I wasn't the one maintaining the exceptions. I was the Power BI model author, and really somebody in finance kind of maintained this. So let's, you probably already see kind of where I'm going with this. Learn Power BI. And we'll say exceptions. All right, so now that we're back in AdventureWorks, now I will go to the table that I need to change, or need to affect, impact, filter, whatever, based on that set of rules that I've defined in that other file. Why is this complaining? Oh, that's weird. Hold on there. Oh, learn. Okay, let's focus on product. So let's say this is the table now that I want to impact based on those set of rules. So first I'll bring that kind of exception table in. New source, Excel. that in. And of course, I'm not going to load it to my model. That's, that's the one thing that I love about the query editor, the kitchen of Power BI. It's got the trash can. All right, hit OK, bring that in, and as soon as that comes in, I'm going to right-click on it and disable the load. Great. So I know that I don't need it in my model, and I forgot to give it a good name. So let's call it exceptions or something. I don't know what it is, right? So, but basically the idea is we have two criteria, and we want to do something based on that. So I'm going to go here now, and I'm just going to do a merge based on that. And I'm going to say merge queries. Product with the where is exceptions, and match it on category and color, and yep, so I can see that it's matching a subset, which is good, and hit OK. And then I expand. Really, it doesn't matter what I expand. I'm just seeing. Well, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe I had a third value in there. Ooh, that would be interesting. I could have had that. Let's just do that really quick. So go back here, and I don't really know what change. Override. Let's call it override. And I'm not really sure what we're doing in this scenario. But let's go back there, exceptions, refresh it, override. So now if we go back to our product table, and so I can come back here and I can say, oh, give me the override value. And I have that, and now I can do what I need to do. So maybe this override value is to override, I don't know, the new category name, or the cost needs to be 0.1 or anything, but I can go from here. I have now flagged the ones that have some exception, and then do another column. So does this general approach kind of make sense?
Yes, it does. And then you would do something else that would then combine the good names with the replaced names into one column.
Exactly. So of course that stuff is really simple, right? So basically I would do something like this. So let's actually go ahead with this, and let's say we were trying to override the category name, which is kind of a silly example here, but so I'll say new category name. Oh, and actually let's do this. I just discovered this this guy, conditional column. And I've always used this one, but this one is not bad. It's pretty nice. I mean, it generates the same M code. So I'm going to say new category, and I'm going to say if I have a value in there. So if I go to my override, and if it does not equal null, right? So if there's some override coming in, then use that value. Otherwise, just use the original category value. And yeah, so now you can kind of oh shoot, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? If override is not null, sorry, it did work. I think there are some categories which are indeed blank. Yep, so it is working. Yeah, so man, AdventureWorks, that's the thing about it. It's some of the data is not right. So you would say new category, and that's it. Now you don't need the old category. So I'm gonna delete that, and I'm gonna rename this one to category. If you really care, you can move this column, but what I've realized is that the order here doesn't necessarily reflect the order that you see in the final data model. Let me try to move this next to subcategory, and my hypothesis is that it is not going to end up next to, what is it? I don't really know. It depends. Often it ends up as the last column if you added something new. Oh, did that work? Category, subcategory. So okay, so I have that, and in my this new category, I do have the ABC and XYZ, whatever override that was there. and that's it, right? So basically, we didn't like the way the standard stuff was coming in, right? We didn't like that. So what we do is, and again, so the old way that I saw Microsoft doing was that they would copy the whole thing, and this in Microsoft's case could be thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of rows of cost center hierarchy data, and they would copy that tens of thousands of rows and then just change one or two or five or 10, didn't matter, but it was always a subset, and then they had to maintain the whole thing. If new cost centers got added, they had to add it. It was a nightmare. And I said, no, no, no. If you want to just change five, your list is going to have those five elements, and that's it. That is it. And then you kind of merge it back in. So now, basically, yeah. And now, of course, the thing is that this is where you get the incredible power of Power BI. It frankly, it still boggles my mind to this day. And this happened with Microsoft. It also happened in the last call. For example, you can do things like this, which again is, oh gosh, just thinking about it making me like, oh, I just jump out of my skin. So you can say, for accessories blue, do this. Clothing yellow, do this. For components, star. I want to do something else. MNO, right? So it doesn't matter override. You can do things like this. So you can say for components, I don't matter what color is. I don't care what color is. For everything, override the category with this. So of course, if you can think about the business hierarchy that we had, and I'm kind of surprised that I've forgotten the Microsoft business hierarchy. I mean, this was, I knew it like the back of my hand, but I know there was, let's just make something up. So there was like business unit, division, department, cost center. And if you remember, our rules were at all different levels. So let's just make that up really quick. So it was like, oh, for this business unit, right? All divisions, all divisions, all departments, and all cost centers, reporting person, let's say, and these ones need to be moved to John. So they were not John in the system, but we wanted to move them. And then we would do something like this. Oh, for XYZ, if it's division something, then move those to Elizabeth. But if it's XYZ and something else, then and you could get more specific. So if it's Tuesday and RGT and any of this, then this is actually Steve, and on and on and on. And we could have, and it was so compact. Oh man, it was just mind blowing, right? So Steve, my question to you is that is it obviously
I like.
yeah, you can't use
Yeah,
it.
this is
Yeah.
I like this. I like it.
Okay.
I think it's cleaner. I mean, in terms of looking, you can just look at it and see.
Yeah.
It's not this big long
Oh gosh, yeah.
function.
Yeah.
And this is essentially a way to implement an if statement or nested ifs at
Yeah.
various levels.
Um,
You
yeah.
know, if this, then if this, then if this, then that.
Oh gosh, yeah. But yeah, this star thing,
Yeah, that's pretty
it's really
powerful.
really hard
I
to
like
do
that.
that in that. Cool. But I was thinking maybe we can also solve your specific tech challenge. Yeah. But is it okay if we hold off on that a little bit? Let
Oh
me maybe
yeah,
take some
yeah.
questions and we'll come back
Oh, of course, yeah.
and
There's no
look at that function.
me the I've I'm able to do what I want to do with
Yeah.
what I had.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just thought, man, this just looks like there's one little piece of code
Mm-hmm.
that might need to change, and this would work. So I was
Yeah.
just curious.
Hey, I'm exactly what you are. I'm curious. I'm like, how do you do it? So it's not readily apparent to me. So yeah, we'll hopefully have a chance to dive
Yeah,
into that. All right, terrific.
absolutely. All right, thank you. This is great. This is great.
All
I
right,
hadn't thought about this.
all
This
right,
is good.
perfect, awesome. So, whew, hey guys, so that was a great kickoff. Now let's switch over to YouTube, and let's take Bruce's question. Avi, can you help me add pay period and last day in the ultimate calendar table? Bruce, maybe. So we don't usually do this early, but maybe we'll have Bruce call in. Da, da, talk. I'm gonna come back to here. By the way, guys, any files that we create, you can get them by going to just talkpowerbi.com. And I'm gonna make sure I save this one in our system as well. Nope, not that. Talk Power BI. Somewhere here. Okay, so 2019. Steve Ross. Interesting. Exceptions. And I'm also gonna save this guy. Okay, got the file saved. And so Bruce, last day of pay period. Danny says hello from Greensburg, Georgia. Late to the party. Well, better late than never, my friend. So Bruce, I was trying to have you call in. Let's see. So, oops, that's not right. Okay, I got that. So folks who are on GoToMeeting, so we'll help Bruce, and then, or you know what? Hold on one second. So let me do a check-in on the phone. So Hans, Mahindra, and Nick. I'm gonna call you Nick. How about that? You still have to correct me on the name, and we just talked to Steve Tom. Is there a question on the phone? If it's a quick question, I wanna, or if there's any question on the phone, I at least want to hear it and park it, so we can make sure we can get to it. Nick, let's see if your mic is working. You can help me say your name right. All right, cool. So that means we can switch to Bruce. Now, there's a little bit, it gets a little bit tricky. That's why we do it in the end, is that the GoToMeeting folks are not going to be able to hear on GoToMeeting what Bruce is going to say. So, Bruce, if you can join. All right, so Bruce, I sent you a link, and I'll wait for you. And what I'm going to do is get ready with the calendar table. Actually, I think I'm ready. It's already here. Let's open new one. Learn Power BI. Maybe I do need to get ready. But let's just go with that. C:\learn Power BI. All right, awesome. I'm going to close this one. So 0950. So if Bruce is able to join, then we might be able to go a little bit deeper. Otherwise, I may just give kind of pointers. Update ultimate calendar table for pay period and last day. So folks, if you're like, oh, what in the world are we talking about? First of all, if you go to my channel, thanks to, again, my team, the good stuff is now at the top. Earlier, it was all over. It was hard for me to find. But now all the good stuff on YouTube. Now, of course, we have more good stuff inside our Learn Power BI program. That's a structured program, goes kind of step by step. Maybe I'll show you guys a quick peek into that as well. But in here, the good stuff is at the top. So first of all is, of course, our new tutorial. And we're excited about this. And thank you for everybody who watched that. Thank you for everybody who commented, left us comments, left us nice things to say. So our last tutorial was done a while ago, and we just updated it this year. And I'm also happy to say that this time what we did was we updated it here. Our tutorial, by the way, is that you know what? Let me just show you the our course itself. So that's our course, and oops, there's some stuff. So yeah, ignore this draft one, but basically we have. So this one was shared with YouTube. This was used to be completely available on YouTube, and then ignore this guy. But then we dove into each specific topic, right? So that one kind of set the stage, gave you an end-to-end, and then we dove into query editor, relationships, DAX, visuals, Visual Power BI.com platform. What we did now is we re-recorded this thing, so we re-recorded this, but this time we ended up on different. So on YouTube, it is really good. So guys, this is like the best work I've done. We did have to make it compact, just because I don't know. I mean, YouTube audience, if you put together, so we made it 1 hour. But the course, inside the course, I didn't have to rush. I could take my time to teach it. The same one, the new one, is available now, I think, and I think it's close to 2.5 hours. And again, the whole course is pretty compact, and we feel really good about that. We always want to keep it that way because, again, this is kind of the hard-hitting 20% stuff, which gives you the 80%. But still, I like the fact that inside the course, I could be a little more leisurely, take some time, something on this. So anyway, that's the current status of that. So that tutorial is there, and what I really wanted to get to was, and often the next step from there is Ultimate Calendar Table. This is a gift that keeps on giving. This is a table that I've used in every single model I've ever built, and we're still waiting on Bruce to join. Yeah, I don't have anybody on there. So guys, for this one, and again, go to the videos, and it lets you download the files and use everything. Nick. All right, Nick, hold on. I'm gonna check with you in a second. Let me see. Oh, we do have Bruce. Sorry, my bad. This is on my end, isn't it? Sorry, guys. I think I should be able to hear now. How are you doing, Bruce? Wait.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, great. Can you hear me okay? No? Oh, wait, he can't hear me. Bruce, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, Avi.
Awesome. And it sounds like you've already done it because I'm not hearing the YouTube echo. So yeah, if you were watching on YouTube, you paused it, muted it or something, right? So that's taken care of?
Yep.
Awesome. So great. Before we go further, though, tell us a bit about yourself. Have you talked before?
Yeah, we've talked one time. I work at Kaiser. I do supply chain analytics,
Yeah.
and so.
Oh wait, are you inside my program?
Yes.
Oh, okay, of course. Oh yeah. Well, I'm glad we're talking again. There was one thing that I wanted to get back to you about, which I don't think I ever got around to. So this is a good reminder. All right, great. So awesome. Good to have you on the phone. Cool. So pay period and last day. Tell me more. And I think you added some comments, but now we have you on the phone.
Sure.
So just tell me about it.
So essentially, in one part of our business, we look at time periods based off of the pay period end date. So if a pay period ends in March, we would say that is attributable to March, right? So there could be days that are in, say that we have a pay period that ended on April 2nd. We would attribute all of those hours to April, right? Even though some of them occurred in March, right?
Yeah.
So what I need to, I was able to do it in DAX. It's like a floor,
Yeah.
floor formula or something, and create the pay period dates. What the end goal here is I'm trying to create a pay period month offset so that I can automate
Got
the
it.
amount, what's showing on my model.
Got it. Perfect. Got it. So let's go here, and I'm not really sure if I have the latest table. Let me see. So my first question to you is, so let's say I have a series of dates.
Yeah, we have to define what the one of the pay period end dates, right?
Well, so yeah, I mean, I just want to understand. So let's switch to a different example. Let's do custom calendar 445 calendar. Let's find a good one. Max retail. Oh yeah, love this one. So some industries use this custom calendar 454, something like that, and as far as I know, I mean, I don't know if this is possible to do computationally, like it's beyond me for sure, at least right now, right? I can't think of it. And like to be able to say that February 20, wait, no, that's, oh gosh, that's January 29th of 2017. That's a single day, January 29th, 2017. All calendar tables always agree on the date, right? So there's no discrepancy about that. That's the lowest grain. They all agree on that. What they differ is that, what are they calling a month? What are they calling a year, and so forth. So in this calendar, January 29th, 2017 is actually, kind of it falls under Feb, which makes this calendar unique. But this thing, I don't know. I mean, as far as I know, it can be done computationally. So in here, is it just based off of some published calendar, or can this be like mathematically calculated that 1/1 is this? Like how are you doing it?
How I was doing it in DAX is I was defining what one pay period end date, and then I was saying plus 14, right?
Oh, okay. So
is it possible, do you want me to, because I do have it in DAX, but I can't get the offset in DAX, right? That's the real issue.
Now, of course, I would I mean, in my mind, it shouldn't be done in DAX. I mean, it seems to be like a kitchen kind of thing, so it should be done in the query editor, but
I agree.
All right, so yeah, why don't you show me? That might be easier. So hold on one second. We'll actually, yeah. Do you see a green share button at the bottom? And I should let you share your screen. Of course, if you have anything sensitive, then yeah, be careful.
Hold on one second.
All right.
Can you see my screen now? Hold on.
No. Okay, it's coming up.
There you go.
Yes. Okay. Great. So pay period. So you were saying Oh, okay, got it. So you anchored a date. You
Hmm.
said from April 7th, 2016, every 14 days we get a new pay period, right?
Yes. And then I said, okay, then just give me the pay period end date,
Yeah, but
right?
isn't your first column effectively the offset? Is it?
It is an offset, but um, it
Hmm.
is an offset, but that's for the pay period itself, right? Um, but it's not.
Okay, got it.
Uh,
Wait. Each month
I need to
has
off.
two pay periods. Is that right?
Some have two, some have three, right? Just like
Okay, it is what it is. I'm trying not to be judgy. This is okay, cool. No. Real data, real businesses. That's what it's like. Okay, cool. So got it. So that is the pay period offset. Now you got the pay period end date, and you have the pay period month number. Awesome.
right.
So, gosh, maybe we could do it in DAX. Probably could. I'm sure we could. I'm definitely not the guy for that. So we're gonna have to do this in the query editor if you're up for that.
No, I would prefer for it to be in the query editor. This is just the only
Got it.
solution that I
So
could find.
yeah. So
And
show
this
me.
got me to where I needed to go, but
Yeah.
then
Perfect.
I'm not able to do like off of the current, what the current date is, an offset of the pay period month, right?
Yeah. So go to the pay period number, the first column that you defined, and I'm gonna just copy that formula. Okay, and show me the next formula you have, pay period end date. Oh boy. Okay, and the next one, the pay period month number. Okay, great. Mm, all right, mate. So that is good. Oh, Hans has a comment or a question. ISO week. So I'm not sure, Hans. Are you asking about? Are you trying to add ISO week? Okay, so let's. Mm, so Bruce, I'm gonna have you do this. I'm gonna have you call into the GoToMeeting. That'll simplify things, and we'll send you. So I'll put this in the chat window. Oops, where did that go? Yep, here we go. And I'm gonna put this in the chat window here. Okay, so yeah, see if you can join there, and if you are able to join, then just drop off on Zoom. All right, cool. Meanwhile, I'll get ready for this. Maybe I'll just try to spend time to replicate this in the query editor, which I've already done in DAX, but that's cool. All right, so let me first actually go find my most recent Ultimate Calendar, and mini courses.
I'm not seeing anything new in the chat window for. Did you put it on YouTube or you put it on the Zoom meeting?
I put it in the Zoom. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and we got latest. Okay, got it. So, folks, definitely got it. Now, what I'll say, folks, is I feel so thankful and lucky because the amount that I've learned from my students has just been incredible. And one of my earliest students in the online program, Keith Nail. I do want to catch up with him someday, maybe even bring him on and share what he's been up to. But he shared this quote with me, and he said, "To teach is to learn twice." And I like almost discover it every day. Yeah, and of course, there's this other line of thought that I sometimes think about, where sometimes students thank me, and I'll admit I've struggled with processing it, and the best that I've come to at this point. And so one of my colleagues, Oz de Soleil, who's pretty amazing, Excel MVP, I talked to him about this, and his words were, uh, um, Avi, don't be a douchebag. And he actually didn't say douchebag. He said a different word, which I would rather not say here. And he said, Avi, just accept the thanks. Right? You're not accepting it, and that's not respectful to them. So I got that, and that helped me. But really, what I've been thinking these days is I read a quote somewhere recently where it said you can't really teach anybody anything. You can only let them discover it. And I think that's so true. So really, when people thank me now, I'm like, don't thank me, thank yourself. And I'm not trying to like brush them off, but I think that's true because the same people go through my YouTube tutorial and have different reactions. The same people go through my course and they have very different reactions, right? So I know on YouTube, some folks go through the tutorial and say, Avi, this changed my life, right? And I can feel good about myself. Like, oh, look at me, Avi changed somebody's life. Or I can realize that there's also another person who went through, and at the end of it, they said, I can do all of this in Excel. You wasted my time, Avi. Right? So is it really me, who made that change in their lives? No, it's not me. It's them. All right, cool. So we are here looking at our ultimate calendar table. So I'll admit that one day I felt so embarrassed that I called it the ultimate calendar table, but at that point, we had already made 2 or 3 updates to the calendar table. Somebody had asked for a week, and we added that week offset, and other people had asked for something else, and I felt really embarrassed. I'm like, gosh, I called it the ultimate calendar table, but now I realize that is exactly what makes it the ultimate calendar table. Oops, I'm lost now. Is its ability to transform, to become what you need to become. So we can hopefully do the same for Bruce today. All right. So first thing I want to focus on is his pay period end date. So really, he's anchoring 2016 4/7 and doing 14 days, 14 days, 14 days. 2016 4/7. So yeah, let's kind of work in here. And first thing I want to do is I'm not sure. Maybe I start the year at 2016 4/7. Usually I always start them in January. Maybe we'll make an exception. So April.
Hey, Avi.
Yeah.
Can we not change the start date? Can we have a different, because I need a regular calendar in this
Okay.
calendar too.
Yeah.
I need it to be,
Oh, okay, got it.
because most of my stuff is offset on the regular months, but this particular situation just needs to be offset differently.
I see what you're saying. So this 2016, the way you define the formula, it works before and after that date. I was thinking it'll only work after 2016 4/7, but that's not true. That's not true. I can see that now.
No.
Got it. So this one, maybe we will change it at least 2016, just so it'll be easy to see. All right, cool. So we have here, and I'm going to jump all the way to the end, and I'm going to make this window a little bit smaller to make it easier for YouTube folks to see. And of course, folks, sometimes you can be like, hey, this is not the problem that I have, but hopefully you can learn. I'm really hoping that you can learn from my approach as well. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the way I do it, like this subsection. You notice here I have so Bruce, yeah, obviously for some of it I'm kind of speaking to the audience here. I'll probably call you out when I'll say, Bruce, what about this? All right, cool. So, oops, I didn't want to do that. I just want to rename it. Sorry. And I'm going to rename that, and I'm going to call it update 2019. So we wouldn't add this in the real ultimate calendar, but of course you would have this file available. We wouldn't add it there because I think it's a little too specific. So update 29 May, and we'll Bruce and pay period. Oops, got it. So I have this marker, and you see I have these markers throughout this table of what I'm doing. So I have that marker, And now the first thing that I need is that day, is 2016 47. So I'm just going to add that day, custom column. What happened here? Oh, there we go. And I'll say date marker, and I'll just say hashtag date. I think you can do it this way. And we'll say actually don't really know, is it year month date 2016 47. Let's try that, 47, and hit OK. Now here's the thing, and that's why did I? Oh, I messed it up. 2016.
Yeah.
At least somebody's paying attention. Okay, cool. So I got that date, and then let's just do a diff of that. Add column, custom column, and we'll say date marker diff, and we can say date marker, if it's positive, let's do date minus date marker. Maybe I want that to be, can I change it to an integer decimal number? Oh, actually, they're not going to be any decimals. Could have been a whole number. All right, great. And what I also need is to divide it by 14. Okay. I'll just do a new column. Date marker diff. I don't know what we call it. Boundary. And I'll say, give me this. Divide by 14. I think we can do that. That floor thing right here, which I might do. Let's do m reference, unless anybody knows already. So is there something about floor? Maybe I'll call it something else. Oops, nope, it wasn't there. So m, let's just do number functions. Is even rounding. Oh yeah, round. Wait, floor would be round down, right? Bruce.
I'm not sure.
So if it's 1.2, it's going to become 1. Wait. Yeah, I think so. We'll just say number dot round down, and this. Okay, and we can. Okay, so we got that, and let's just get closer to a real date, and we can examine it. Yeah, let's examine this guy. So the week starts at 4/7/2016. I can kind of see that here, and it goes to 4/20. That's. Did we get that right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And the next period starts. Okay, well, now of course, if I messed up the math, we can go back and fix it. Now, I did want to point out one other thing. Actually, let's keep working here, and we'll come back. There's something really cool which I love about our kitchen here. All right, cool. So we have the pay period number. That's all that we have accomplished so far. Pay period number. So we got that, and I think we can remove these two. Date marker difference, and rename that as pay period number. So remove columns. So this is what I call the trash can, where we needed those columns, but once we're done with it, we can throw that in the trash can. Cannot do that in Excel. and that makes a big difference. Period number. So we calculated the first one, and the next one is pay period end date. Pay period end date. Ooh, pay period end date. Maybe we removed it too quick. I have a feeling that may be useful somehow. All right, so I see your formula. So you're basically saying for that pay period, find me the maximum date, and that is a pay period end date. Now we can do that in the query editor as well, but I'm thinking maybe there's an easier way using like offset or something.
I'm just trying to use this to get to the pay period month, right?
Yeah, but I think that's the only way. I don't see any other path. The max date. But I'm trying to. So I see the logic you did it in DAX. Now that can be done in Query Editor, but it's. I'm thinking see if there's a quicker way. Man, if only I could see the date right next to it. Let me just do this. Let me move the date column over here. Come on. Oh, I could have just. Okay, I give up. I'm just going to add a custom column. So let me duplicate this one. Add column, duplicate column. Okay, and I'm going to make that here. And I feel like there's something here that can make it easier for us. I may go quiet for a bit. If you don't have anything good to say. Okay, and actually I'm gonna screenshot it. Okay. We got this. So how would a human say, give me the last date? Give me the last day. Oh, I need a different screenshot. Okay, so if I'm looking at this data, to find the last day, well, if you're a multiple of 14, then you are the last day. If you're a multiple of 14, you are the last day. Oh shoot. It's not going to work with negative numbers, I think. Shit, dang it. Okay, forget about the negative for now. If you are a multiple of 14, you are the last day. Otherwise, we can say whatever the state marker diff is, divide by 14, give me the... oh, okay, got it. Man, yeah, I can solve it for positive. I can't solve for negative. Now, of course, we can make that easier for us. Okay, got it. Let's try this. So I'm going to say add custom column. I'm going to say adjust to pay period end date. And I'm going to say take that date marker diff, divide it by 14. Do I need the mod, right? Yes. So number.mod, got it. Let's just check. Okay, got it. Date marker diff and 14. So give me that number. Why isn't it happy? I don't know. Okay, I need help. number.mod 83 by 9. That's what I'm doing. What is it complaining about? Oh, I must have deleted. Sorry, my bad. Okay, so if we divide it by 14, what do we get? Oh, an error. What does it say? Marker diff, date marker diff. Okay, got it. That's why I was complaining. Okay, we're gonna fix that. And if we go in over here, oh, is this something? Maybe this is something. Oh, I'm excited about this. So I don't know about negative, but for positive numbers, let's just see over here. So if I'm looking at 14, then I am the end date, no adjustment needed. If I'm off, then I just need to do 14 minus this number and add that. So this one would be 14 minus 13, 1. This would be 2. I think this is going to work. So let's just go back and we'll just adjust that. So if this is 0, then 0, else 14 minus this. Okay, let's try that. Oh shoot, no, that's oh yeah, negative and doesn't work. Maybe we'll fix negative when we get a chance. But 4747, I'm looking at you. Let's try that again. Oops. Come on. Oh, there we go. All right, so for 47, oh shoot, that didn't actually work. I should have just done. Hold on one second. I mean, sorry, this has nothing to do with query editor. This is just math. But there is something powerful here. Okay, we will leave that, and we're going to add another column. Oh, didn't want to do that. And we're going to say add column, custom column. And actually, maybe let me take some time on this just to make sure I get it right. All right, so for 47, the answer is 0. For 421, oh, answer is 14. I didn't quite do it right. So it goes from 0 to 13. I think it should have been, oh man, we're so close.
0 is the start of the new pay period within here.
Yeah, so 0 is that one. So I think if it's 13, you don't need a change. I really would have wanted this one not to be 0. So if we say 13 minus this, so if we say 13 minus 0, this is going to add 13 days. This is going to add... Yeah, okay, I think I got it. So we have that, and then we just say, maybe no if then else. Maybe it's just 13 minus that. Let's just try it. 13 minus this number, hit OK, and see how we did over there. All right, hey, Bruce, the Zoom call might drop off. I'm on a free count here, so it boots us off at 40 minutes. So
I'm on the meeting.
oh, you are?
I'm not on.
Okay, got it. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna exit that. I didn't realize that. All right, folks. But okay, cool. Let's come back here and look at it. Okay, so 4/7, it's gonna add 13 days to it. Let's look at this one. It's not what I want to see. Hold on. So I wanted to go to 0, the first pay period. There we go. That's good. Okay, so for the first pay period, if I'm at here, I'm at 420, then I don't need any adjustment. I'm already the last day. If I'm a day before, add 1, 2 days before, add 2. Boy, this might work. This just might work. Now, of course, it doesn't work for negative numbers, but I have an idea. I think it's going to make simple. So, of course, we can ignore that and move on, come back and solve that later. Okay, so I think this is good. We got it. So adjustment. So now we're going to say the next pay period end date is add column, custom column. And we're going to say pay period end date. And we're just going to say give me date plus the adjustment. Oh, shoot, what is it? Oh, okay. I guess date dot add. Date dot add days. Nice. Date, comma, adjustment. I'm getting kind of excited. Whew. All right. So unless I'm going back again to pay period 0, because that one is easy to understand. The rest I'll check later. I'll assume that it's working. Okay, I'm gonna bring this and put this here. Oh shoot, it's a little too big. Oh, there we go. All right, so focus on the first day. 4/7 started here. Did marker diff da da da. So it's saying the last day is 20th. Yeah, ignore the negative ones for now. I don't know what that is. And then we go to the last day here, 4/20. And let's see how we're doing. So, yep, all of these are say 4/20, so that's good. And the next one says, yeah, 5/4. So Bruce, do you think we got it right for positive numbers? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool. Now positive, I feel like all we have to do is mod or something. So in here, if it is -1, what do we need to do? Okay, we'll worry about that later. Now, of course, another way to fix this is instead of marking 4/7/2016, you take a very ancient date, right? I don't know, something in 2010 or before your calendar starts. That means then we would not have any negative numbers here. Fair enough? That's one way to solve it. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we already know one way to solve it, but otherwise there might be some math thingy you can do here. I somehow feel like it needs an absolute, but not quite. So we'll leave that for now. But now we're rocking and rolling. Now, guys, I wanted to stop here and let's see. I want to see if I'm just curious how many people are still on. It's funny. Sometimes it's a smaller crowd. I think I talk differently. All right. Well, a lot of you are still on, so that's awesome. Because guys, this is something incredibly powerful, and I just want to make sure. Okay. So I think, and of course I talk about this in my course. I think in my tutorial as well. But guys, there's a reason I call this the kitchen of Power BI. Oh, if I can spell. And one of the most powerful things in the kitchen that you have, which you may not care about, is the trash can. Is incredibly powerful. Now, without the trash can, now Excel, the old Excel doesn't have a trash can. DAX doesn't have a trash can. So life, kind of without the trash can, you have a choice which you may not even have realized that that was your choice. Frankly, I didn't know because that was the only way to do it. The choice was this. When you wanted to write complex or awesome things, right? I like to call them awesome because they're doing something really smart, right? I mean, imagine being able to go in there and define your pay period end date. That is pretty incredible. So complex, awesome doesn't matter that, but you wrote, it certainly required a complex formula. And we did that in Excel, right? So the same, now, of course, so DAX maybe makes some things easier, but it's essentially a version of that, right? So imagine doing this in Excel, and you could write something kind of complicated. Like, for instance, imagine somebody who looks at this formula for the very first time. It's not readily apparent what's going on. I mean, you have to really slow down and think that, okay, I got it. And heaven forbid if the complex formula is not working, debugging is another matter, right? So it was either that, or you could do it step by step. Why not? You could do it step by step, but guess what? The biggest thing is if you don't have the trash can, you carry that load on your back, right? All the garbage. And how many times have we built Excel sheets where we have a series of calculation columns which are only calculation, they're only interim stuff, but we can never delete them. We shall never delete them because guess what? This one depends on this one depends on this one depends on this, and this one depends on all of these. So you have to carry all this garbage with you. You can never ever throw anything away because it would break the formulas. So in a way, we had this choice between the devil and the deep sea. I mean, you could write something, and yeah, you could write, oh man, I've seen my formulas. I've seen formulas which were a page long in Excel, and I've seen the same thing in DAX, and it just makes me livid. It's like, oh, and I see people teaching that, like, oh, here's a cool way to do this, and I'm like, just give me a gun, all right? Just give me a gun. I'm gonna point it at my head and just shoot it off. It's why would you do that? Why would you do that, right? So we don't have to face this choice anymore to write this crazy complex formula or do it step by step and carry all the garbage, because we can do it step by step, and then when we're done, just throw it all away. We can keep only the one that we need. So now if I wanted to, I could kind of just go in here, all of this, and just hit delete, and it's gone, and it's a trash can. And the final product is really, kind of nice and clean, and it's still step by step. Because if somebody, and of course I went in a hurry, but I would rename all of this, right? So you see how I've done this. Like I never leave it as added custom. I would say, what did I add? What did I do? I would add more comments. That way, it's still step by step. That way, somebody can still go in and kind of understand. Okay, and debugging is easy. All of that sort of stuff. And guys, this is just one example. You're going to do lots and lots of these as you go through your career as but frankly, as anything. I mean, I hope you're not going to be a Power BI modeler. Don't be that. But do whatever you're doing in business, but augment that with Power BI. But you're going to do lots of this stuff, and over time, it's just a gift. All right, so cool. So having said all that, let's see if we can solve the real problem that Bruce came in for, which was the month diff. So we have. Let me jump back to this. So with this, I'm going to go to the third formula that we had, which was pay period and month number. Actually, Bruce, maybe I'll ask you. So from here, you should be able to extract the month. So you have the pay period end date, and from here you can do a lot of different ways. Of course, you can just use an M function, or you can say for the date, I want to extract the year, and then you extract like the month number, and then you combine them into a month. I think that's that, right? So you would get this one is easy to do, right? But do you have a line of sight as to how would you solve? It's going to be interesting. So this part, do you feel comfortable that you can create the pay period month number?
Yeah, I can do that. It's
Awesome.
the offset. The
Got
way
it.
that I would go it is going back into your calendar table and look how you did the offsets for the other things.
Yeah.
But
So I'll give you a clue on the offset too. So for the offset, what I would really do is find the current date offset, and where is my? Oh boy! Don't tell me I don't have a day offset. Maybe I
the
don't.
thing,
Yeah. Go ahead.
I need to identify what is the current pay period month, I guess. Right?
Yeah,
Because
but
I want to off.
But isn't that off of the current day itself? Like if today is May 17th, I can go with that. So today is May 17th. May 17th. Let's just actually try that a little bit. You know what? Let's just try to do it. So I'm gonna actually pay period end date. I'm wondering if I can actually delete this stuff. I think I can. So I do have current day offset. Whoa, that's really nice. I was gonna make it. Actually, maybe I don't even need that. So anyway, let me get rid of all this stuff. Date marker. Shoot. Do you need any of this or no? Were these the three things that you built? Do you need any of those? Pay period number? Maybe you need that, or no?
No, I'm just using pay
Okay,
period
got it.
month.
All right, awesome. So I think we can get rid of all of that. So we'll do our cleanup. So that's gone, and we can focus on this. Oh, there's some weirdness here. Month to date. Oh no, that's as built. Oh shoot, did I? Oh, I removed one too many. Cut too deep. Pay period end date. I'm just gonna get it back. So pay period end date. Okay, so I have pay period. Oh gosh, actually, I think would it be nice. So you want the offset. I think the pay period number is going to be valuable because that's going to help us with the offset. So we got the pay period number, and what I'm going to do now is oh shit, no. Man, this is maybe a little trickier. So we have the pay period end date, but from this you're gonna let's just calculate the pay period month. Let's just see how to do that. Pay period number. Okay, actually, hold on. Let me just pause and. So hey, Bruce, is it okay if you take a quick break, see if you have any questions from online, and then whether or not you hang around, I'll probably still come back and solve it. Yeah, does that sound good?
Sounds great. Thanks for your help.
Okay, cool. Or of course, if you want to take it as a challenge, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna drop off and try to do it on your own. Either one is good. All right. And of course, there's always more than one way to solve it. And I'm sure somebody would, would have other ideas. But overall, what I would say to everybody watching on YouTube is that use the tool. So really, a part of becoming a pro. So guys, you know me. I'm kind of obsessed about this topic, right? So you've heard me talk about the Power BI learning curve, right? So it starts off really easy, gets incredibly hard, man. It's not fun. This phase is not fun at all. But then the good news is it does get easy overall, where the world seems your playground. It's you start drooling when you see messy data. You go like, you're rubbing your hands like, oh my God, this is gonna be so awesome. But this red phase is not fun. And I hear, for me, the biggest sign, and it breaks my heart when I hear that, is when people are in this phase, somewhere in this phase, and they say, oh my gosh, it was so much easier in Excel. And I'm like, gosh, no, it wasn't, my friend. I realize you're struggling now, but it wasn't. And Excel, I'm talking about the old Excel. New Excel has Power BI built in. It was a death by a thousand cuts. You could do anything, but that was the problem with Excel. Right? Its strength was its weakness. It's a very versatile, flexible tool, but that means you end up doing a lot of stuff in there, and it just doesn't all connect. And it's like a filled with formulas. It was not easier in Excel, right? But they keep saying that, so of course I'm kind of focused on kind of shortening that. So a key lesson here, I can't emphasize it more, is just understanding. Oops, wrong one. Just understanding these two big engines that we have. These two big engines, right? One is the query editor, and the other is what I call the model. And the model has two things: relationships and DAX. And just understanding the interplay between these and being able to realize and weigh the trade-offs of when you should do what where. Now, of course, there are best practices, right? So there is you do the query editor is the kitchen. So anything that feels kitcheny, clean shape transform, you should do that in the query editor, right? And the model side, definitely all math should be there. Like I've seen people who did time intelligence in the query editor, and I'm like, why? Why is you making it so hard for yourself, right? And right. So So yeah. So that goes math goes there, and that's generally true. And just by doing that, you would make your life so much easier because now you are swimming downstream. You're swimming with the flow as opposed to, and again, that's what I was talking about. I see people doing page long DAX formulas. Guys, I mean, I'm not saying there is never a scenario where you would do that, but I'll tell you right now, man, I've been around the block, right? I've worked with NASA, I've worked with NBC Universal, and startups and mom and pop shops, and of course Kimberly Murray, the hairstylist. I've never written a page-long DAX formula. So if you go with the flow, you're not fighting it. You're not swimming upstream, and it becomes easier. That's one of the key in navigating that curve that we talked about, right? That, so, oops, what's going on here? Oh, gosh. Yeah, right, so, go away. Right, so that curve, what's going on? You remember the curve that I draw, right? So let me actually see if I can revive it. Okay, cool. So this curve and anyway, something's going on, probably with me. Is the folks who are on that curve? They're often, one of the key things is that they don't understand the systems and they're not going with the flow. They're not using it the way it should be used. And of course, I always use the tennis example when I talk about Power BI. And I always say that learning comes from doing. And I don't care about AdventureWorks or Contoso or Fabricam or how the NBA players are shooting and how the plane delays or how the UN population statistics. Any free data set that you can get out there and download and just have fun and explore, that is not Power BI for me. I mean, I don't know what that is. Well, there's something. I'm not saying it's not valuable, but it's incredibly more valuable to start doing it with real data and with real clients, real customers. Could be internal or external. It's just night and day. So I always say it's like hitting a tennis ball against a wall. That's you downloading the UN data set and like, oh, I'm going to have some fun with it. I'm going to build something on NBA and what was going on, right? That's that. You're hitting the tennis ball against a wall, and then you start working with Kimberly Murray, hairstylist, business coach, and you look at her data set, and you say to yourself, oh, I'm going to be done in a few hours. And a month later, you're not done. You've done something amazing, but you had to cut out a lot of stuff. That's real Power BI. That is real Power BI. That is putting another player on the other side of the court and hitting the tennis ball back and forth. That is real tennis. All right, now if you're with me on that analogy, we'll stay in the tennis world, right? So in tennis, you have obviously a forehand stroke and a backhand stroke. That's how I see these two engines. Now, those are the two engines. Now imagine a player who can't play backhand. And of course, I know when I started learning tennis, I was weak in backhand. Most people are. But imagine you cannot play backhand at all. What kind of game would you have? How would it look like? So imagine a player playing tennis and he can't hit on his backhand. What are they doing? Well, I know because I was there, right? I didn't have a strong backhand. You scoot as much. Well, I'm right-handed, so I would scooch as far to my left for every shot as I could, just so I could put it on my forehand. Do you think I was a good player at that time? Well, I still am not, but I was even worse back then. That is what you do when you don't understand these engines and understand the interplay and understand when to use which. And God forbid you only use one engine. You're like, oh yeah, stay away from DAX. I do all my calculation in Query Editor. It's easier. You're using only one stroke, either backhand or forehand, right? So you're going really heavy on that. Now, of course, almost nobody is that. They're using a little bit of DAX, maybe a lot more Query Editor, or a little bit of Query Editor, a lot more of DAX. But if it's like that, you're imbalanced. You're imbalanced. So now if a shot is like here, a little bit to my left, I'm still going to scoot here and try to hit it with my forehand. And of course, what does that do? That makes you a worse player. That makes you a worse Power BI modeler. And that makes your life harder. You have to work harder, right? If I have to scoot far left for every stroke, man, I'm going to be running back and forth across the court, right? A lot more than I need to. And that is exactly what happens when you don't really get this feel of this Query Editor relationship. And it's such a beautiful interplay. Now, of course, so we talked about best practices. That's there. But the fun area where I really having, that's my playground, my friends, are the gray areas where it's not clear. So I said clean, shape, and transform, the kitchen-y stuff, that's in Query Editor. Simple, obvious, right? Yeah. Oh, that's kitchen-y stuff. This one was actually an easy scenario. When I saw it, I'm like, that's kitchen-y stuff. That needs to be Query Editor. And Bruce agreed. And then there's going to be like mathy stuff. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's that. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to, whatever, do this calculation, that has to be in DAX. But then there are areas where it's not 100% clear. And you go, And there are exceptions. There are exceptions where you're doing kitchen-y stuff in DAX and you're doing math in the Query Editor. And that's what I really love, right? So anyway, that's kind of further on in the journey, right? But initially, if you just master just this simple stuff, you're going to make your life easier, my friend, right? It's for your own good. All right, cool. So hopefully I helped. Jen is saying, always had good ideas. So Loretta Sue use that same trick or similar, where we go to the Query Editor. Where is it now? Something bad happened here. Oh, we focus on the calendar table, where she inserts empty steps and major points and identify the major stop. Yep, you can see. Yeah, I mean, when I'm being a good boy, then I always do this. And of course, yeah, whenever it says added custom 1, custom 2, hey, shoot, I want to make sure that we saved that file. I'll be pretty sad if we forgot it. Oh well, at least it's recorded. Okay. All right. So let's so check in. So this was we took it off of YouTube, but Bruce is part of the Learn Power BI family. So to be fair, so again we kind of round robin. We will we'll go on YouTube. So YouTube, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm just gonna scroll up and see if there are any quick ones I can answer. And I always love when you guys talk to each other, help each other out. Of course, I see that inside our Learn Power BI community as well. And that's awesome. That's exactly what I'm hoping for, because after all, I'm just one guy. Danny, oh wow! So a lot of people have found that same thing where you can, labeling query steps is incredibly powerful. So Danny, Loretta Sue, they both shared they're doing this. Christopher's on. Christopher, good to see you here. From a lot of Washington. Oh yeah, so Kuduro. So folks, this is not Power BI 101. So if you're feeling lost, you know exactly where to start. Go on my channel and start at the very top. And I wouldn't say this is complicated. We don't use that word around here. It is awesome. Imagine if you're trying to solve a business problem. Solving it is awesome, my friends. It's not complex. None of this is complex. I mean, I get such ethereal joy out of this. It's hard to explain. I mean, like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So it's not complicated, but if it's not what you're looking for right now, go start at step 1. So Power BI tutorial, this is the ground floor.
And
This
reports.
actually doesn't assume you have ever used Power BI. So I'm gonna paste that in here.
And reports.
And of course, if
There are 3 phases.
if you want more, there is the structured course. So start at the tutorial. So start at the tutorial, and what I want to say was that, and frankly, guys, yeah, I mean, on YouTube, well, we do share a lot of stuff, but really the journey in my mind is, so this one, the first set is available on YouTube, but then inside a course, the users get to continue their journey. So this one gives you kind of, end-to-end view of all of Power BI, and I think it's really lightweight and easy and fun. At least I hope you would find it that way. I mean, of course, we get a lot of positive comments there. So I think I can say that. So that, yeah, it's just for beginners. You don't have to know any Power BI at all to start there. That's a tutorial, and that one is available on YouTube. But then in the course, of course, we kind of go deeper, and so forth. And I also say that after this, we do have other levels, but the journey from the journey even for anybody is what we call it's not complicated. It's learning by doing, right? So you're going to learn some theory here. You can follow the examples in AdventureWorks, but then we want you to start applying it, and that's exactly what Bruce is doing. And you're going to face exactly what Bruce faced. So this is like everybody, everywhere doing Power BI, right? They learn something, and then they go start applying it at their own data, and they get stuck, right? They get stuck, and they're like, man, I have Avi's training, I have Avi's tutorial, I have all of that, and I have the power of Google and YouTube, and I go there, and I find all the answers, just not mine, and they're stuck. And I've heard people who've been stuck for a few days, but we've had people who were stuck for a year. There was a gentleman here who saw this problem and said, Avi, I've been trying to solve that for a year. And the sad thing is that when you're in that stuck mode, you're not really progressing, you're not really learning, because I think the real learning happens in that cycle, the faster you can repeat it. Right? So that's the journey as we have created, my friends, right? So you start off on YouTube, but then you continue inside our course. And of course, YouTube is always going to be there. We're always going to be kind of sharing content there. But the structured kind of guided program is inside our community. Yeah. So anyway, all right, cool. So hopefully that helped. So Christopher does have a question. He's going to post it in OneDrive. That's great. So I didn't see. Oh, that isn't Danny. That's a nice trick. I really like that, guys. So I do use that, what he's suggesting. Oh boy, so I'll call it out. Oh man, this is, I really love it. Danny, quick tip. Use unit. So I'll type it, guys, and then I'll talk about it. So this kind of takes what we were saying to a whole different level. No. Let me see if I can do at least a quick example of that. Okay, let's go in here, and we're gonna go there, and emoji. So what he's saying is that there, gosh, I'm just gonna grab something. So I do use this site, and the funny thing is that I don't know, man. Maybe I'm not. I mean, I see my daughter and my son as well, and they know this world. I don't know this world. Like there is a there is this one which is so happy that you're crying. I'll admit that I've used it incorrectly. I've sometimes used it to express grief or sadness in online discussions, and it didn't go well because I was, trying to express, I don't know, my condolences or something like that, and I used this one thinking that it was tears, but of course now I know that it's not. I mean, it's tears, but it's tears of joy. So I've done stuff like that. But yeah, so they know all of it. So I use sometimes a side just to understand that, that one, that's what it is. And frankly, I find it really helpful because like upside down face, what does that mean? I have no idea what that means. Does that mean you're sad? You're not smiling? Well, turns out commonly used to convey irony, sarcasm, joking. So you can see how, our dad can find the site really useful. But there's a lot of, kind of cool characters here. Symbols. Oh, yeah, I like that. I like that. Let's use symbols. Let's see that. So you can use, well, maybe not the hearts, but yeah, I mean, any of these symbols. Oh, gosh, like the diamond suit. I like that one. So if you copy that, and of course, Danny had an example of like an arrow to like really point at something. So let's just have fun and go. So in our calendar table, we can. Oops, I don't want to do that. We can say rename, and let's see if I can add a diamond. Oh yeah, cool. Right. So obviously, I mean, I just picked one as an example, but you can use these to really call out things and so forth. So Danny, that's a simple thing, but that's really cool. Okay. All right. So now I'm tempted between solving Christopher Singh's or continuing our journey with Bruce. I'm gonna. So Christopher, let me look at your file, and if it seems awesome enough, complex enough, yeah. Oh gosh, sorry about that. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna clean up a little. All right. Okay, taken care of. That's my water bottle. Okay, so Christopher, I'm going to assume that it is all public data since you're sharing it publicly. And so usually, that saying, like, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, we kind of have the opposite of that. I mean, oops. Since Talk Power BI is a public forum, we anything we do here, we consider it public. So, all right. So we're gonna save it here. Oh, so Charles, I see a question. Usually people just upload it to OneDrive and then share via link. OneDrive, G Drive, Dropbox, any of those works. What is it? 0517. And okay. So Christopher, I'm gonna check in just to make sure. Okay, sample data set. All right. So we're gonna take a peek at that. Got that. Delete this. And what I think this was Steve's files, which you already got. Yep. So this one, and by the way, guys, any of these files, you can just go to talkpowerbi.com and get these. So Steve Ross XML. Oh, interesting. This was actually measure by exception. Perfect. So I can delete this one. And let's look at what Christopher has for us. Oh, all right, Charles, I got your link. Hey, Charles, can I hear you? Maybe.
Yeah, I was muted.
Yes. All right. Awesome. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, good.
Great. Tell me a bit about what your question is.
So it's a question I've started in the Learn Power BI Facebook page, but we had, so it's actual data. I'm playing tennis with a general manager right now. So I hit the ball over. Basically, well, he hit the ball over first. It was basically, we have labor hours by cost center. And what he was doing was looking at dates of milestones, and he was going in and highlighting and summing up and putting the hours into buckets. And so I posted that, and you had given me the idea of going into the calendar table and then chunking it in there, and I got that to work. But the next step, I guess, for me is, I showed that to him, and he said, well, for each of these projects, the milestone dates are different. So, I was trying to figure out a way to, bring in the data, in a table. I've got kind of a table mapped in the PBIX file.
All right. So I like that. Oh gosh, I got something in what you said. For one, you threw me off a little bit with the tennis analogy, but man, bonus points for that. I mean, right? I mean, I never thought about it that way. I mean, of course I use that, but. Oh, yeah, I love that. I love that wording. So guys, I'm gonna make an audible here. So, Chris, I'm looking at your formula, and boy, it's well, it's a page long, my friend. So we'll probably come back to this. But and between Bruce. Continuing, kind of the final steps for Bruce and Charles. I think let's introduce something different, and let's take that one on. So 1103, Charles, and Bruce. I do promise that I'll solve it. Actually, maybe it wouldn't be a bad thing if I don't do this live on the call and do it offline, because it'll give you a chance to just take a shot at it, as you were saying, that just see how I've done it for the other ones. But I'm going to come back maybe after this call, if not on this call, solve it and just share it with you. So if you and then you can at least compare your solutions. You can say, oh, I did it this way, Avi did it this way, something like that. So all right, so let's dive in here. So Charles, I'm going to ask you go by Charles or something else?
Yep, I go by Charles.
Okay, perfect. So from here, I just want to make sure that the files that you sent are they public? Usually whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
I've cleaned it,
okay.
so we can.
Okay, got it. So this is it, right? This is all the files. No, I think I can. Yeah, that's what it pulled up when I.
Yep.
Yeah, let me put that up again. This
So
seems
I
right.
uploaded a PBIX. It looks like it.
Oh, yeah, it's showing it's showing me the content. PBIX is really a zip file. Did you know that?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. Try this. Just rename any PBIX file. Just change the extension to .zip, and then it's gonna look exactly like this. And
okay.
the kind of fun you can have with this. So one student was asking, you may or may not have dealt with this, but Power BI desktop has like different versions. Every month they update to a new one, and sometimes if somebody use a new version to update or save the file, and you have the older version, and let's say your company doesn't let you update, you're stuck. because you can't open the file. So my theory was, I haven't tried it, that you can unzip the file, go in the version file, change the version number, and maybe it'll work. Anyway, so yeah, that's what it's doing. So yeah, cool. Let's download this one, and we're gonna put it right here. 2019 0517, and it shows labor hours. Okay, so we got that, and all right, thank you, Christopher. He's saying it's okay, go with Bruce. Okay, all right, so maybe I should close some of these files. Let's close this guy. All right, great, I got it. Maybe not. Okay, now it's open. All right, so the first thing I usually look at is the relationship views. I'm just be there, okay, and I'm happy. I'm really happy. This is good. I mean, I usually make the whatever the data table is kind of taller, just as another reminder. So you have engineering hours, date, hours, name, work center. We have the calendar. We can slice and dice it by that. And revision history. Oh, that's interesting. So cool. Tell me about the problem again. And this time I have the data set.
Well, we pull it out of Sightline, so it's SQL Server, and then we get a report that has hours for each work center. So what the general manager does at the end is he goes through these reports and looks for, he needs to, so it comes out in a work center, but then he has to divide that into like chunks. So how many hours were used on the first drawing, how many hours are on the second drawing, how many hours were in the third revision of drawings, and he was doing it manually with a highlighter.
So hold on. So let me see if I get it. So there's some data which comes out from the system, and does he break it into pieces? Like it's saying out of these 2 hours, or so does this 2.06 get broken down, or no? This stays whole. It just gets marked.
What he's doing, what might be easier if you go to the visual.
Actually, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I got it. Actually, actually, hold on one second. Let me see. Let me do this. Put that here. I'll go over here and put these 2 side by side. Okay, and and you know what? Let's why don't you let me give you the mouse.
Okay.
And you can walk me through this report. So let's see if you can. Yeah, there you go.
So what happened was he said, okay, take this report here, what you're seeing here, and do what I do, and see if you can break it down into chunks. So I went upstairs and spent an hour, and what I did first was I just did so here's the total, and then I did it as a visual filter. So I said all of these sum up to a certain date.
Hold on, let me move out of the way. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so if I click on that, I'm going to see some visual filter. So okay, so you're saying this is in a chunk. Got it.
Yep.
All right. Yeah.
So that's what I showed him, and he said, "Oh wow, okay, this is awesome." So I said, "Well, if we do this going forward, it's gonna. I don't want to do it as visual." So you had asked me, suggested a. So if we select on this one, I think drawing date buckets is the.
I think I see what's going on. So why don't you take me back to, instead of Power BI, what I really want to understand is what he was doing with that highlighter. And again, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that because it's so kind of visual, and it's like you would think that and I'm glad I worked at Microsoft, because whenever I hear these stories, sometimes people share these stories and they sound apologetic, and I'm like, dude, I've seen this stuff like all the time in Microsoft, right? So if it can happen in a company like that, so tell me, let's go back to this one. So imagine this person is there with the highlighter. What would they? How are they doing this? Are they saying,
So,
"Oh, from this date to this date, I was working on this project, and then I switched to this," something like that? Tell me more about
yeah,
that.
so this is a general manager saying from until 9/4, we start the project. So highlight, he takes yellow, highlights here, highlights this one, all the way to here,
Yeah.
and says, okay, these are for the first drawing.
Yeah.
And then he goes and says, okay, from here to here, and then he takes a blue highlighter, and then takes the next chunk.
Okay. Keep
And
going.
he had a pile of papers on the floor with all these. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, so Charles, I have to share a story with you, which I heard at NBC Universal. And gosh, I forget the person's name, but he was so amazing. So what he was doing was, he had brought us in, and he was trying to take the company to the new era of right. So they were doing a lot of Excel reports, and they were trying to shift to this modern BI. At that time, the Power BI term wasn't around, but some of these tools still were. Concept, Power Pivot, and all that was there, right? So. And he said that this shift is going to be as big as the last shift that happened, which was when people did all these paper reports, and paper was everything. Everything was paper. And then they switched to computer. And he had this hilarious story where he walked into, after they did that last shift where they computerized things using whatever software, I'm sure it was like IBM something. He walked into somebody's office, and they were chucking paper into the trash bin and burning it. And they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm finally burning my paper reports. And he's like, what? So what they had done was that as the system was computerized, they still kept doing all of their paper stuff because they didn't trust the new system. They were not used to it. Mostly they didn't trust it. They were like, oh, no, I'm going to do it the old way. But eventually, when after month after month after month, like, oh gosh, I mean, I do all this hard work in the paper, and well, the computer system, maybe it was buggy to begin with, but now it has stabilized, and it gives me the right answer. In fact, sometimes I make a mistake, and the computer gets it right. So they get all that, and they finally got to the point where they were ready to burn their paper reports. And the odd thing is that companies. So it's funny you mentioned paper, but even with that old Excel to this new transition, there is like a metaphorical burning of those old reports, because the same dynamic comes into play, where people hold on to the old Excel reports and they keep running it until they go through the same thing where they say, well, yes, Avi's Power BI system was buggy initially, but look, it's pretty accurate right now. And again, the exact same dynamic where they say, in fact, in my Excel stuff, I have uncovered a lot of errors because I compared it with this new system, and I realized that either I had a fat finger to form or something, right? So, and they go through the exact same interface where they eventually burn. I wish there was a way to burn an XLSX file, because they essentially delete it, I guess, right? So it's funny you mentioned paper. Okay, now my question to you is, how is this possible? I mean, so as a manager, this only works if you're working on one project at a time. It can't work if you multitask. Is there some detail that is there which you have simplified for me, right? Because it can't simply be by date ranges, because I have many clients. So tell me a bit about that.
I guess I don't understand. So these date ranges will change for every project.
Oh, got it.
So that's
got it. Okay, got it.
So that's the issue I'm running into right now.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Oh, man. Sweet. Okay. So I'm gonna just kind of redo it in my head. So let me look at let me look at the stuff. Is Work Center the kind of the project? Is that what it is?
The Work Center is the department that's working through these dates. So we have electrical, and this is mechanical engineering. Then you'd have electrical engineering and a different
but
Work Center.
Tom is always going to be in engineering, right? I mean, is it related to that person?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, so I'm getting a feel of this. So let's say this is the person, and it's going to have for a specific date, and it's going to have hours, And it's so I'm not really sure if you said that, but maybe you did. I'll check with you. So if you see me doing something wrong, just don't worry about it.
Right.
And I love oh well, let's just make some. So we'll say Tom, and maybe I'll throw myself in there. And it'll say project Gemini and code worm, whatever, something like that. Gemini, okay, right. And say 1/1/2019, 2/1/2019, 3/1/2019, and ours is 10/20/30, something like that. Maybe I'll just copy that. Okay, so and I see that the person department is kind of going to be a lookup table. Ideally, I mean, it doesn't matter. It can be in there, but as long as we understand that Tom is kind of always in engineering and maybe I'm an R&D, something like that. So and that doesn't change. Like it's not going to be like, oh, on this date Tom is in ENG engineering, but another date it was R&D. If that's the scenario, then it's something else. All right. So so I'm working with, maybe it is project or maybe it is clients, but at any given time I'm working with on different projects, right? So
so what we do is we pull a report by project. So it would be, for example, only Gemini, and then I've filtered this data just on the ENG Work Center. So it'd be only Gemini, only Engineering Work Center, and then from those I need to filter by the buckets. Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a phase. Yep.
Yeah, got it. So now, of course, we can solve it for just one, but and that's usually, I mean, I love that about Power BI. Is usually if you can solve for one, you can solve for all projects, right? So solving for multiple projects isn't really any different than solving for one project. So I love that. I mean, that's awesome. But we can, for our task, kind of keep it simplified and just kind of focus on thinking about one project. But again, if they have multiple projects,
and Avi,
yeah.
One more comment. What's interesting too is these are drawing revisions. So every project could have, one could have 4 revisions, where the next one could have 3.
Yeah. Oh,
so the number of phases might change.
But that's brilliant. But of course, if we set it up this way, there's nothing we have to change. We just, you can have 1 phases, you can have 6 phases, and it's just going to be kind of blank or something like that. So, so cool. So I think, so I got that. Yeah. So, so let me look at your data tables again, and perfect. So between this range and this range. So, so help me understand this. So, till 9/4, what do you call that? Is that the first drawing?
That's really, I've got the letters reversed. That's the first approval drawing.
Oh, okay.
So everything.
Okay. Let me come back here, and let's just say, let's see. I wonder what your data source is. Hey, any way you can? I don't know if I need this. So in here, maybe I can just hack it here.
I manually entered the dates, that table, I think.
Which is good. So let's try this. So from till 9/4, it's not R&R, is it?
Right. It's the first approval. Yep. So APP1 maybe. Yep. That'll work.
Is that APP1? We can do APP1.
Yep.
And then 9/28 to this one is R&R.
Revise and resubmit 1. Yep.
Okay. Now I was thinking rest and relaxation. Whatever that.
Yeah. Some places R&R. Yep.
Yeah. And what is
that?
This?
Would be a second R&R.
Okay. So there is. So of course this would be coming in from somewhere, kind of like this, how we talked about, right? I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe it's
right
going
now,
to be manually
we
submitted.
have it in a SQL Server.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that's okay. So somebody somewhere is gonna say that for this project, these are the dates. From
Yep.
up till 9/4, we're doing this. From this, so okay, got it. So we got that. And just to be consistent, I'm gonna name it R1, right? Just so at one. Well, okay, cool. So we have some dates, got it. And let's just see how you end up with that. So then you go this, and this, and this. Okay, got it. So we need to chunk these dates. Got it. Yeah, you were using that word. How would we do that? I mean, I can already see some possibilities, but I just want to kind of feel my way to the right one. So I'm going to go back to the relationship view. So we want to categorize it, and the thing is that it's by project. So if it wasn't by project, one idea could have been that it almost becomes an attribute of the calendar table, but I can't quite do that. So if it's by project, now I can solve it in the query editor. So this is what I talk about in modeling. Let me get back to my notes here. So we can, if not project specific, I'll call it point, then it could become an attribute, really a column, in the calendar table, but I wouldn't do that now. So we can't do that. So now we can solve it in query editor or DAX. How would we solve it in DAX? Start date, end date. Now we have this is a very classic pattern of trying to calculate things from start date and end date. And a classic scenario for this is, imagine employees. They have start date, end date, and you're trying to track, well, if I know the start date, end date, then how many employees do I have right now, you know? And of course, warehouse shipment, all of things like that. So I think that pattern would kind of help us. But I don't know, I'm feeling more in the query editor side, but because in a way that would be cleaner, where I would use this data to add the code in there, and the advantage of that, one advantage of that, so I don't know how simple or complex it is, but imagine if that code, that phase, so I don't think that's a scenario for you, but let's sometimes I like to dial things up, and so for example, if I say, hey, this can work for 10 users, but would it work for 100 users? Would it work for 1,000? And not always, but sometimes the right answer for the 1,000 users is also the right answer right now. Because what we do sometimes is just because something is simple, it's like, oh, it's just 3 rows. I'm going to just, I don't know, do it manually or something like that, right? But that's not the right answer because it wouldn't work 100. So whatever smart thing you would do for 100, sometimes that's also what you do just for small data. So, so imagine if the code that we end up with were part of a hierarchy. Imagine your project didn't have just kind of few phases or few revisions. What we were really tracking was all these different work items, and maybe there were hundreds of them, and then they were grouped together. And so, these are the detailed work items. So imagine a company which is like had detailed codes that, this activity, let's go by that. So maybe this is by activity code, and these hundreds of activity code roll up into some hierarchy. Like these activity form part of this phase, which forms part of I don't know, something else. I can't think of anything, right? But if that was the case, then I know the way I would want to solve it is put the code here and then create that hierarchy as a lookup table. So again, I'm just kind of thinking out loud. So if that would be the right answer for a complicated scenario, maybe that's the right answer for us as well. So let's just go with that. And man, I think I am going to need that CSV file. You know what? Actually, this is a really simple file. I can just export it. I just copy. I think I can copy it from here. No. I'll just export it from here. Yep, this is perfect. And the name. Oh, it was only one name, but that's right. Export data. And what do we have in our files? Oh, hold on one second. Oh, got it. Okay, cool. I'm gonna change that file to point to something else. Actually, maybe let's just do that in the query editor. Okay, let's go to engineering R's and change the source. All right. So you got this table, and now I need to match it up with that other one. Got it. You don't really track time, do you? It's just dates.
It's dates, yep.
Okay, so I'm going to change it to a date. And I'm going to remove, oops, what? I don't know why that wasn't happy. Let's try it again. Okay, that worked. And I'm just going to remove the null. Okay, so now I have this, and I have the revision history to match up. Now null. Oh gosh, null. Okay, so null. I'm not. I mean, it's kind of awkward. I feel like it'll be easier if you just have a date. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, if there are any nulls, I'm just going to use like a really old date. So we're going to say transform, replace values. And I'll say if it's null, then I don't know, maybe start of the century. Of course, if you have older data, then we'll adjust for that. So okay, so we got the revision history, but then how do we match it up? So of course, so there are two ways to. Oh boy, another decision point. Wow. So by the way, Charles, this whole idea that modeling is a series of decision points, I didn't know that. I never thought about it that way. And I learned it from the students. But the thing is, sometimes once you learn that, it makes you a better modeler. Just that simple knowledge. And it has made me a better modeler because now I'm more aware of the decision point. And just because I'm aware, I make better decisions, right? I mean, how good would you be if you're not even aware you're making a decision? You would be pretty sucky, right? So just that simple thing. So so this was one decision point. Now we're facing another. So imagine it's like taking roads. So on the query editor, I'm like decision point, and one way is to blow up the revision history table. Or okay, so obviously right now, let's go back to this table. So hey, by the way, I do usually take a little time on these live calls because I like to kind of think out loud and show you kind of what's going on in my head, not just solve it for you. Is that cool?
Oh yeah,
All right,
perfect.
awesome, man. Yeah, so the whole thing about teach others to fish, right? So
Yep.
so
Yep.
so if you think about this, that right now I can't merge or join these tables anyway. It just wouldn't work. Like,
Mm.
what would I join it on? I mean, I can't join it on date because that wouldn't work, because this date isn't really a date; it's a range, right? So it's
Yep.
saying from this date to that date. So if I really do a join, I'm gonna get, like, like if I join by start date, well, one of these dates, it doesn't even have 928, but imagine if it did have 928, that date is gonna get joined. That's it. If I join by end date, well, then I don't know if we have a 10-1. We don't, but if we had, then that would get joined, but nothing else. So it doesn't work. So one approach is to what I call blowing up this table. And what you do is you take this range, and of course that null is really awkward now. I'm gonna just ignore that. I'm gonna ignore that for now. But let's take, so what we're gonna do is, when you blow it up, you go 928 is RR1. 929 is also RR1. And oh gosh, this doesn't have RR1.
Oh.
And then you go 10-1 is RR1. September doesn't have 31, right? So that's blowing up. And if you see this, now of course, let's ignore how we blow it up. But if our table looked like this, our problem is simple. We just do a merge and that's it, right? We just say, yep, join this date to that date, and then you look it up, right? And then you say, so go to that other table, which now lists all the, I should have probably done it here. So 928, 2019, and then 2019, and then on and on.
It's like a philosophy of the calendar table. You're putting all the individual dates in and tagging them.
Something like that. But of course, dates would repeat here because, well, actually, yeah, it's kind of like that, right? Yeah, but of course, if you do it on if there are multiple projects, then there will be, kind of multiple things. It'll say, oh, for this, actually, yeah, that's really interesting how you do it for multiple projects. But frankly, this is not my favorite solution, so I wouldn't go too deep into this. But you can see that how this really simplifies a problem. And if you did end up with a table like this, so now if we had 10/31/2000, sorry, I messed up the year. It was supposed to be APP, and you go 11/1/2018 is APP, something like that, right? So if you had a table like this, then you just say, join this with this and give me that value. It becomes easy. Fair enough? Yeah, that makes sense?
Avi, this is Steve. I don't know if you can hear me, but we're not getting any audio.
On YouTube or here? Oh, audio. Hold on. Okay. Hey, Steve.
That's better.
Oh gosh. Okay. So it was just in the GoToMeeting, or the YouTube guys had problems as well.
Okay, back on.
Well.
Okay. Got it.
I have YouTube muted, so I don't know.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I think it's looking. YouTube's fine. Okay.
I called back in. I lost audio for a second.
Okay. Yeah, that's yeah. It has been happening recently, which is odd. I mean, GoToMeeting is usually kind of rock solid. All right. So this one, you kind of got that part, right? I mean, this one is going to be an easy merge, and right. Cool. So for each one of these, you'll just merge these two and say, yep. Now I know this one is RR1, this one is app, and whatever, right? So we'll do that. That's not my favorite solution because it can make the table really large from something compact like this. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, imagine if something went for years, just again, so sometimes I like to dial up the problem to see if it's a good solution or not. So, I mean, even in this case, like this whole, when started was null, this is going to end up in like a lot of rows, right? I mean, almost 18 times 365. So that's the problem with blowing up, that this table becomes really big. Now, of course, the thing is, you're not going to load this table back into the data model. So that's a good thing, but it still takes time. It can increase time in data refresh. In worst case scenarios, it can slow down so much in data refresh because you're blowing up so many rows that it's not going to work. It's going to run out of memory. So blowing up is not my favorite solution. So what I use a different one, and again, we've already made a decision point earlier. I mean, you can solve this in DAX for sure, but we went on this route. Yeah, so we are on this path. So this one, I call this a cross join. I mean, I wish there was a different word for it. I'm not a huge fan, but I'm just going to do it. It's going to be easier to show that. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is so maybe there's a smarter way to do it. I only know this one. So I'm going to add what I call a dummy column. So I'm going to say dummy. Oop, no, that's a text one. Dummy. And I'm going to do it over there too. And I'm going to say the same thing. Folks on YouTube, and well, yeah, and on GoToMeeting, I guess. I have a feeling that there absolutely is a better way to do this part, the cross join in the query editor. If so, clue us in. But hey, this works, so I've never had to go beyond that. All right, so now this has a dummy column, and the other table has a dummy column, and I'm just gonna merge both of them. So I'm gonna say join on this, and revision history, join on this. Now, of course, what you realize that it's gonna join every single row, and that's okay. That's okay. That's exactly what we want. And what it does, yeah, so it's gonna, well, in a way, it blows up this table, but not as much. It's gonna blow it up by however many number of rows you have in here. Boy, I mean, so I can see the deficiencies of this approach. By the way, they're becoming pretty apparent. That this one can also slow down your refresh. Not on this call probably, but yeah, maybe later I would explore the DAX path and see what we get there. But hey, Charles, I do want to thank you.
Yep.
And shoot, man, this one definitely gets a gold star. So folks, if
Wow,
you've never been on this call, the gold star is a very high standard. You got to meet three things. One is it's a genuine business problem. If it's something theoretical, I was experimenting with this. No. You got to be like a business scenario, which check. That's definitely a business problem, and it seems almost kind of simple, innocuous. Like, oh yeah, just junk it out. But is not, and that's it. So yeah, I love this combination. I love questions like this where you get a simple thing and then you're talking about it for 30 minutes. I hope to be done quicker than 30, but this is good. So yeah, so the odd thing is that just a few minutes ago I was talking about how I love to be in this realm where it's not quite clear that is query editor the right way to do a DAX. And it's not about right or wrong. It's about weighing the pros and cons. And yeah, so query editor. I'm seeing the deficiency in this, but DAX, when we explore that, it would have its own pros and cons. So anyway, so we're gonna come in here and we're gonna grab the start date and end date. And now I realize that we could have left the start date as null. In this approach, we could have done that. So we're gonna bring that in, and we're gonna bring all of this as well. So obviously, I don't need the dummy column. I mean, that was just for the join, silly. And so now I have this. So first thing that's going to happen is that notice this table is going to get multiplied, right? So we had 27 rows, and it's going to end up with 27 times 3, which is 81. Great. Right, so it got multiplied, and it's got all these rows, and some of these rows are not valid. But now all we have to do is to check that is the date in this date range, select that, and grab that status rep, and that's it. If it's outside of that, then that's not a relevant row. We'll ignore that. Hey, Steve, we have solved something like this with you at some point.
Yeah, yes,
right?
we did.
Yeah.
This was when we had a table where of wages for people, and
yeah.
they'd have a start date and an ending date, and if the activity fell between those dates, then use that hourly wage.
Yeah. All
So
right.
it's very
great.
similar.
So, all right, let's see if you can do this. Let's try that again. Okay, cool. I'm trying to zoom in, but not zoom in too much. Okay, got it. This is perfect. I'm going to try not to move. So what I want here is if this date is really between those two dates. So the way, if end date, actually, let's say start date. If start date is less than equal to, and I'm not 100% sure if about the equal to stuff, but it's okay. We'll come back to it later. If start date is between this and date is, well, actually it depends on how the data is defined, I guess. If this is true, if this is true, what's happening, buddy? Come on. Oh, gosh, come on. Okay, yeah. Then give me the status graph. Else, nope. Okay, now is it happy or not? It's not happy about something. Does it not use double ampersand? What is it? What is it not happy about? I'm not sure.
Maybe. I mean,
Start this. Oh, yeah, it doesn't use double ampersand. It just uses simple and. Okay. Okay, man. Oh gosh, no. Okay, so now, of course, folks, if you've heard me talk about this, when you get an error, a lot of people click on that error, and that is probably not what you want. You just want to click to the side of it and read the error at the bottom. The start date. Oh, I messed up something. The start date wasn't found. State. There's a typo there.
State date.
State date. State date. Might as well fix that over here. Was that a typo, or maybe you guys do call it state date? I don't know. Okay. All right, let's come back here, and I think it would have broken some of our things here as well. Oh yeah, start date. I'm gonna fix the. Oh, I could have. Okay, got it. So got it. So we got the start date, end date, and now let's see. Ooh boy. So this is great, but I think I'm a little bit uncomfortable here, and I'm not sure if we're going to end up with the same number of rows as we started. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but hey, there's only one way to find out. Well, I mean, one way to find out is just remove the nulls and see how many we end up with. So we end up with 9. So this is okay. This is one of those things where kind of Power BI is always right, but this is unexpected for us, unexpected for humans. And I'll also do a segue here of so Charles, this is, and again, man, definitely like almost double gold star, but this is one area which I also enjoy, which is query editor. So my mentor, Greg, oh my, I almost blanked out his name. So Greg Weber taught me everything that I know about data modeling, and man, that has always been my secret edge. So oh gosh, yeah. So he taught me everything about that, and he taught me a whole lot more. And he used this word, and frankly, I loved his words. And there's another one that he taught me, refactoring, and what it means and why it's important. Refactoring, and what is important. And then he talked about defensive programming. And what happens when you do something like this, something slightly kind of more complicated, more awesome, is that there are scenarios where it may not work. And like this, so of course, in this case, I suspected that this can happen, and it did happen. So that means it can happen, right? But sometimes you get lucky. You say, oh man, this could go wrong. But then you do it, and I'm glad it's right. So imagine if we did end up with 27 rows, same rows we started with, we would have been okay. But if we know that there is a possibility that can go wrong, then that's when Greg taught me about defensive programming, which you account for that. and you do things there either to avoid that happening. It's like, oh, if that can happen, well, let me program for that. Let me add more steps in here, just in case that error happens, I can still handle it. That's one approach, and it takes more work because that thing is not happening right now, but you're still programming for it. Or one easy way out is you just say you're able to detect it. Like if that happens, just fail, just catastrophically fail. So again, I mean, the scenario I'm talking about is where imagine if we had ended up with 27 rows, but we still programmed for this scenario. Now, why did this happen? Now, my theory is that this data set, all of these kind of date ranges are not fully encompassed in this table. That's my gut feel. I feel that's why this is happening. Now, of course, we can just, I mean, this is a small enough data set, so we can just maybe visually check and see. So basically, oh yeah. So you see how we have dates from 9/28 to 10/1, but so we have dates from like everything to 9/4, but nothing from 9/4 to 9/28. So that means all of this stuff falls in no man's land. It is not there. And maybe other scenarios like this. So my hypothesis was right. So again, I mean, sometimes people kind of get frustrated with Power BI, but I always get like this primal joy out of it because for me, I grew up reading Sherlock Holmes and stuff and Poirot. I mean, like that's what I'm doing, right? It's a murder mystery. So it's just like, oh, I have this clue, and you form this theory, you form a suspect, right? So it's like, oh, I think that person murdered it, but whatever. And then you validate or not, and you check for alibis and all this sort of stuff. So I get like immense kick out of it. So yeah, and anyway.
So,
yeah.
Avi, so I have a note that's interesting because that period is when the drawing goes out, 9/28, and it goes out to the customer.
Yeah.
So Tom wouldn't be working on it. So that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's telling you exactly because it's at the customer. There's no labor hours.
Oh
it's
gosh, yeah.
From 9/4 to 9/28.
Oh man, that's another thing that I really enjoy about Power BI, which is the first time you bring it to bear, it's like shining a flashlight. And I'm sure there's a some explanation for that, right? But often we are not aware of things like that. So right, I mean, of inconsistencies in the data or inconsistencies in the process. I need an easy word for that. Or bugs. Let's go with bugs. Or well, inconsistencies in either the let's write it out. In either so I don't have to repeat the word. It could be either in the data. It could be about the process. So usually, I mean, instead of process, folks start blaming people. I don't think it's people. It's a process, right? So data, process, or systems. There's often something there, and Power BI acts like this bright flashlight. So I'll share a quick story. We started working with a Microsoft group, Microsoft Virtual Academy, MVA, and they were pretty big, and they had been running for a year, and they had a lot of data, and of course they wanted new fancy Power BI reports and all that. And we started running their reports, and I mean, I didn't know their system. I just knew the data, but then I would put it up, and I would say, oh yeah, we see this is happening. And they would say, no way, that is not possible. The system isn't designed that way. And I would just, not shrug my shoulders, but basically say that, well, that's what the data is saying. So then they would have this heated debate amongst themselves. Then they would go offline and work with the engineering team. And of course, I wasn't surprised when they come back and like, oh yeah, Avi, that's actually a bug. We didn't know, so I knew more about the system. I could see more than they ever could. So yeah, it acts as this bright flashlight and can be uncomfortable when you start doing that. So I try to be gentle about it, but I would rather know, if I'm part of the business, I'd rather know than just be oblivious to all this stuff, all this inconsistency in data process systems. That's great. So we understand why that's happening. Now, of course, so you can solve it just by making sure that this stuff is complete. But man, I think so. I was gonna kind of try to end it, but but I feel it's worth it to at least think about how the heck would we. So obviously this is like disastrous. I mean, if you start off with 27 rows and you end up with 9, a subset, this is really bad. And of course, in other things that we do, sometimes you end up with more rows. That's equally bad. I don't know which is worse, right? So we don't want this. So let's see how we can do something about it. Let me think about it. So, oh boy, actually, oh, this is nice. Oh man, okay, shit. How can I thought I was onto something. So what I'm trying to do is I want to keep the original rows, but how do we mark an original row? How do we mark that I'm an original row? I'm the first one of my kind. I don't really know. Oh man. Actually, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to solve it on the fly here. But let's do it this way. Let's so for us, we're gonna make sure that the incoming table has really all data ranges. So if something is like when you're not supposed to be working on it, we will call that out as well. Fair enough? Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So yeah. I like that. I mean, that's a simple, elegant solution. So we're just gonna. Oh, oops! I messed that up. 9.
What I was thinking of doing is whoever enters that table, we're going to change the process potentially and add those in between steps.
Yeah. Now, of course.
Now that we know that they're needed.
Yeah. So of course, this is kind of the fun part where either you kind of do it in the system, or you don't have to. Sometimes changing the system takes time, and you can do it in the query editor. You can say, oh, if there are missing dates, I'm going to add it. That can be. Yeah. In itself, by the way, that's also a fun exercise. I mean, off the top of my head, I have no idea how to do that. Like how do you detect that? But that can be like a fun little query editor exercise. So for us, of course, I'm gonna kind of cheat and just do it manually, and say I don't know, to client. What do you want to call it? At the client.
Offline.
So this is where you're really not supposed to be working, right?
No, this one's where you're working, and then it's working on the drawing for R&R2. So prep for R&R.
So that phase is active, but there is maybe some prep work. Okay, got it. Yeah. So I think we're gonna be. I think that might be it. We'll see. So again, we'll do our litmus test. Go back and see if we ended up with 27 rows. I was hoping to see something different here. Okay. What happened? Come on. I added that 10 to 10:30. But it's...
Are they all the 9? There's another gap in the dates.
Yeah, but I should have seen at least a few more. I'm still at 9. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. So the gap there was really the September one. I fixed the wrong one. We got it.
That's a mystery why that second gap didn't... There's no hours.
9/5/2018 to 9/27/2018. I don't know. I'll just call it after app 1.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you can do like pre and post, like post app 1, pre R&R, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go back here. Oh man, what am I missing here? We're trying to plug in all the gaps. It's not doing anything.
Did the merge pick up the new?
Yeah, maybe let's go. Usually when you refresh, it picks up. Let's see this expansion. So I'm expecting now 27 times 5. Yeah, so that seems right, 135. So it is doing that, but then clearly this stuff, is it? Still not
there's
working.
Some. I just saw some after app 1.
Hey, Avi.
Yeah. Steve,
look at the formula Look at the formula bar when in the filtered step.
Last one.
Oh gosh. Okay. We went on this. It was a good adventure, but it probably was misguided to begin with. It's sometimes okay. It was probably my
So
error.
do you want it to say not equal null?
Yes. Yes.
Ah,
Oh,
there we
so
go.
close. Okay,
Sweet.
19, but we're getting closer.
Hmm.
So there's still some. Oh, August. What dates? So what dates? Let me actually go back to source, and I can just. Is it sorted? Let's see, come back here, and let's just sort it by this. And if you go back, we have range up to 11.5. Oh, they're December. Oh, and there's a February one as well. So maybe let's just do one for like later on.
Hmm.
So 11/6/2018, 2, and here I would probably do like a really large date. And
So that's the last drawing coming back, and then engineering prepping it for production. It would catch
yeah,
everything.
got it. Okay, so yeah, you can production prep something like that. But
Yeah.
but is there any step after that? There probably are, right? So, but yeah, but if there are dates beyond what we have, you would need some kind of mechanism to capture that as well, because otherwise, just whatever something in the data, it shows, right. So you yeah, so you would need something like a final step, which is going to have a really large date, just the way we did null, and we put a really simple so prod prep, so 2099, that'll probably cover it, and of course we can go beyond that. And now if I go back, I am perfect, so 27 rows. So we're good here. But of course, all the stuff that I talked about, defensive programming, I mean, it probably fits in where you can validate something somewhere. So really, the way I would do it is actually maybe it's worthwhile to talk a little bit about defensive programming. So here's how one way to do it. You keep one table, which is kind of the original. Oh, actually, yeah, I shouldn't have deleted that. So I did delete null. So you keep one table as the original, and really what I do is I then build. So this, what I would say, is engineering, and I'll say step 1, and then I'll build the other one based off of this. So then I would kind of right click, reference, and then do the other steps that we did. That's how I would do it. Now of course I'm not going to do that right now. And then I'll do two other things. So I'll say reference step 1, and I'll say count step 1, and in here there's only one way I know to count rows, which is group by. Maybe I'm sure there's a smarter way to do it too, but I don't know that. Actually, if I tried hard enough, I'm sure I could go to the M reference and figure it out. But here I just go to grouping, advanced, and delete any grouping, and I just say count rows, and that gives me 27. So I got this. So I'll get the original count is 27, and then I'll go to my final table, and I'll do the same thing. I'll reference, and I say count final, and I'll say the same thing. So I'll go group by, and in group by, oops, I'm going to go to the advanced tab, and I'm going to delete this one. Delete it, and that's it. Hit OK. So it gives me 27, and then I'll compare the two, and then if it doesn't work, then I throw an error, which I've forgotten how to do that too. But basically, I think there was no I couldn't. So in VBA and some other programming languages, there is a function you can call to throw an error, and it says, hey, I'm in error state. I couldn't find that in the query editor or M language at that time. So, but basically, you can do any invalid operation. All the things where we mess up, where it says, oh, you can't add a date and a number. You just do one of those, and that's an error. So what happens is, so you compare it, and you throw an error. So now what happens is, imagine your model is refreshing every day. Any given day, if this step fails, this check fails, it's going to stop. It's not going to refresh. And of course, if you have set it up on PowerBI.com, you're going to get alert emails everywhere. You're going to say, hey, this refresh failed. And then, somebody would say, okay, I'm going to go in desktop, and they would hit refresh, and they'll say, oh yeah, got it, right? So, man, it's amazing. When you need it, it's just kind of really saves your skin, because of course I learned it the hard way, and the way I learned it was that I had a report up and running, and there were some of these error scenarios that I was aware of, which were really infrequent, but they were sometimes embarrassing. Right, so inevitably, like once or twice a month, they'll say, "Oh, Avi, the report is wrong again," and I was like, "Oh gosh, shoot, sorry." And so inevitably, I use this approach. I did this whole defensive programming check for this, and then it said, "Hey, if the check fails, then boom, the model stops. I get an alert. So at least I'm not going to show wrong data." So one kind of approach. And obviously, this is a trade-off as well, because this adds complexity to the model. So you have to weigh for yourself: is it worth it? Obviously, you're going to have to spend a little more time and thought to do this. It adds more complexity, which is always going to stay in the model. Right? I mean, you only spend a limited amount of time, but now this is built into the model. So you have to kind of weigh that. So I don't use it lightly, but when it's needed, gosh, this is a lifesaver. All right. So I don't think for your case. I would generally like to avoid it. I think, but hey, this gave me a great opportunity to talk a little bit more about defensive programming. All right, my friend. So I think so. By the way, now I think with the final result, what did we get? I don't know why. Why did we end up? How did we end up with two of these? I forgot. Expanded. Oh yeah. Now is when we need the trash can, so we can delete the dummy start date, end date, status rev. Oops. And so remove these, and just have you don't have to call it status rev, whatever. Rename the column.
Perfect.
And of course, I don't think it is applicable in our scenario. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But imagine if the code that we got was just a part of a hierarchy. Like, oh yeah, we're doing these, and these codes were hundreds of different codes, and they rolled up to something. It's like, oh yeah, this is like step one in this process. Then what you would do is you would create a lookup table off of this, and you would say, oh, and then you can analyze it. Oh, I want to see by phases. Now I want to dive into this phase one and look at this specific task. All of this sort of stuff.
Gotcha.
So. And of course, the other one would be probably, so you may already have it in the real model, or you would be planning to build. But man, this is a good fun data set. Oh gosh. So I'm thinking about the model, and I'm thinking about, like, you have your data table. What's going to be the who, what, where, when, how? So in my mind, I would have the calendar table is always there. That's a what. Calendar table is always there. Who now if you have person, and this is where the person, this table is going to have the department, right? So it's going to be a lookup table, and this person, and of course it can have other attributes about them. I don't know. Maybe there are some people who work part-time or something like that. Anything interesting which would help us analyze this data, understand it better. You can put it in there. So the person, their department. I mean, if somebody works part-time, that could be interesting because their data is always going to look different than others. What else? I don't know, maybe location. Oh boy. So again, it may or may not apply to your company, but imagine if I was running a company of 100 people, 30 people worked at the headquarters and 70 people worked remotely. Just to add that flag on there saying, hey, is this person working at HQ or remote? I would be able to slice and dice and just see, is there a difference between how these two audiences work, right? And that could be incredible. So anything about the person would go in there. So that's a who. What could be the project? And again, this could be more detailed. So again, even if it doesn't apply to a company, but you can see that if a larger firm had hundreds of projects with hundreds of clients, client would probably be separate though, in my mind. So in the projects, you can't look at all 100 at the same time. So there would probably be some hierarchy. You would say this project is part of this deal that we did with them. We said that we're going to roll out Power BI on all of these schools, and there are 35 schools, so there are 35 projects. right? So, but now you have a roll up. You can say, I want to see by project. That's the lowest level of detail. But then you can say, no, show me by deal or something else or something higher. And I think the client is going to be a different table as I see it, and maybe more, right? But again, you kind of build this up and you kind of link them up. And this is what I was saying to Steve earlier, that in some ways it all starts to look like AdventureWorks to me. So anyway, yeah, it's all the same thing. All right, cool. All right, my friend. Hey, that was a great journey. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome.
All right, great. Whew, guys, that was super incredible. So I have forgotten. Did we pick this up on YouTube? Maybe not. So YouTube, you guys. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see. So, let's see if you have. So if you have any questions on YouTube, let me know. We're gonna try to open the call line again to see if any of you want to dial in from YouTube. Yes. So Deep, your tip about adding the index column, that is I use that quite a bit. In fact, a part of me felt like, so you know how we were when I was talking about how to identify the original row and something like that. I was reaching for the index column. I don't think it would have worked in our case, but yeah, index column is a good one. Yeah, I use that quite a bit. All right, Steve. Thanks, mate. Okay, let's see. Let's do a last call. Let's see. How was I? I want to guys. All right, Charles. Good stuff, mate. Talk to you soon. So folks on YouTube, last call for questions. I'm trying really hard to think of a story. Oh, you know what? Let me end at that. So if you have any questions, type in, and if I see them in the next minute or so, we will take those. But I'm gonna end up with where we started. So again, one more reminder about Women in Power BI, May 31, and really it's for everybody, and this is why. An equal, just, and fair society, it does not just help women, right? I mean, we're in a way just using that as a barometer, as an indicator of how healthy or not healthy your society is. So it is good for everyone. Now, I'm gonna share a different example with you. Totally different example. Nothing to do with women, nothing to do with Power BI, to illustrate that example, illustrate that idea. That right, if you build something good, which is equal, fair, just, it is good for everybody. So let's talk to another realm, accessibility. Right, so people are out there with disabilities and things like that, and of course in U.S. I will say that there's quite a good contrast. Well, I mean there's I wouldn't say good, but there's a contrast. There's a difference between the way things are back home for me. I'm from India. I've been in U.S. for like 20 years now, but in India, accessibility doesn't really get talked about. And things are not the same. It's in here in U.S. we see the ramps and we see the walkways, right? So let's talk about that. So again, a different example, but I was listening to a TED Talk presented by a blind architect. I mean, first of all, you're like, what? So that's incredible to begin with, but of course the person had something really powerful to share. Now he was an architect. He was a genuine architect, right? No shenanigans. No, it wasn't, and he wasn't like architect for blind people or something. It wasn't like he was designing buildings for blind people. No, he was in fact designing cities and cityscapes. And he talked about that. His talk was about architecture. It wasn't about his disability, which was kind of amazing too. So he was talking about his theory of design and say, hey, look, cities. This is what does not work in cities. And this is what I try to do when I work with a city, when I engage with the city development, right? And it was beautiful. It just made sense. And then this is what he said. So obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but being blind, what he talked about was that he brought that into his philosophy. So his cityscapes, were accounted for that, right? Frankly, I've forgotten the details, but the way the street crossings were built, or or walkways were built, things like that. So they would account for that. But as he was presenting, it was obvious to everybody, but he still pointed it out, which is that, look, if you design better cityscapes which are more accessible, they're not just better for the people with disabilities, they're better for everyone. And again, I mean, you saw his vision and the pictures he had, and it was like, yeah, I would like that, right? So, and I think, so again, different area, different example, but nobody is doing any favor to to women, not that they need it. And this is certainly not about, like, I don't know, being a man, right? So it's not about that. It's about building something which works better for everyone. All right, so that's a topic, and I'm passionate about it. For one, I have a daughter, but then of course I shared the story at the beginning. I'll share it really quickly again, which is oftentimes I heard this in news and all that, and it goes in one ear, it goes out the other. You don't really pay attention. It's not your problem, it's somebody else's. It's happening out there, it's not happening in your world. Well, we did an estimation in our course. When we crossed 500 students, we said, well, let's try to find and understand who we are serving, right? And we looked at a lot of different ways. We're like, what are their business titles? Do we know where they live, right? I mean, geography-wise, how many are U.S., how many outside? But as part of that, we also did, how can we tell, I mean, from the name, of course, that is it obvious that, or the best that we could. And of course, some names you can't tell. Now, of course, we know most of our students, so, well, yeah, I mean, right? So anyway, based on that, we did an estimation, and even with a very optimistic estimation, it was still less than 20%. And that shocked me, because that's not what I expected. I mean, of course, now I feel silly, but I was expecting 50-50, because I never thought about that way. I'm like, dude, it's not like Power BI is more applicable to men than women. Now, of course, I realized that in some ways it's possible that whatever is happening out there in the tech world in general is just being reflected in Power BI and inside my course. But I may not have control over the rest of the world. But mate, the Power BI is my backyard. If I don't do anything to influence things here, I don't know. I mean, shame on me, I guess. I mean, right? I mean, and certainly, dude, I'll admit, having a daughter just also adds that. So seeing this in my course and being a father, just dude, I have to do something about it. Otherwise, yeah, it's just wouldn't be right. So anyway, so that's so we're doing something about it, and the thing is, this is the first step. And first step, I just want to kind of understand, and frankly, I want to go beyond the statistics. I want to go beyond the statistics, because sometimes we get inured to that. We get immune to that. We just, just stop paying attention. But I know I care about people. So I want to bring in, just bring in these amazing women with some amazing stories, and just listen. That's my goal for this one. That's what I'm hoping for, and I don't know what's going to come out of that, but I have a feeling it's going to be pretty incredible, pretty powerful. So that is Friday, May 31. Okay, all right, so looking at questions. So question, Loretta Sue is asking, get data, Power BI data sets, pros and cons, constraints. I have access to some reports, but the visuals are not what I need. Can I create needed visuals from get data, Power BI data sets? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so this is, I love this feature. Actually, guys, hold on. I'm just going to make sure I save this file. Oh, okay, got it. The short answer to is go for it. I would. Wow, man, guys, today was a good call. By the way, anytime we end Talk Power BI before noon, I'm always like, what happened today? So this is good. 12:14. Idea or not? Ooh, actually, this can be your quick tip as well. BI data sets to create your own reports. I would highly recommend it. Let me bring up a visual. I need to start blogging because I have these things inside of my video, but it's you can't just pull up a video just in that exact moment. So the visual that I want. So actually, let's see what she's talking about. So for those who know, so Power BI Desktop, you can say get data from Power BI datasets. And what that is this. Boy, do I not have that visual anymore. Shoot. Oh gosh, where is it? Where is it? Oh, there it is. There it is. Found it. It's highly encouraged because the data set is really this guy, and that's the single source of truth. And people should be creating as many reports off that as needed. So, yep, absolutely. And of course, you can do that. Start off in Power BI Desktop, create it that way. You can just go online, powerbi.com, just create it online. Either one is fine. I like doing the Power BI Desktop. I don't know. I just feel at home there. So I would highly encourage it. Now, of course, as a business user, I wouldn't hesitate for a second to create that report. Now, I realize that for IT, or at least somebody in the organization, needs to monitor the health of the system overall. What they need to understand is that they probably do have a central team. So I'm not sure what your setup is in the case, but let's say there's a central team who's creating these models and so forth. If I was in IT or running that, I would want to understand that what percentage of users are consuming it as is. They're just consuming whatever report I create. What percentage are creating their own reports, and what percentage are creating their own models. And usually the breakout is like this. So if there are 100 people using the reports, 20 of them would be creating their own, and only 1 to 2 out of those would be creating their own models. That's what I would expect. If these numbers are out of whack, if let's say there are 100 users out there using reports, but I don't know, let's say 85 of them are also creating their own reports. Well, that's a warning sign for me, because there's something wrong with our standard reports, right? That means it's not working, because it shouldn't be this high, and so forth. Now, of course, if there are lots of people building their own models, then there's something fundamentally deficient in the model that we have created. So that's how I see it. All right, cool, guys. So we'll end at that. Again, so I guess that's 2 weeks from now. A woman in Power BI. Next week, by the way, we have something really exciting as well. We're bringing in another real-life example of Power BI, and Manuel. You're going to meet him. He's going to present a real-world example of Power BI, and I love those as well. And none of the stuff that I do, you go to a conference and there are these demos which look fantastic, but I don't relate with them because they're so kind of polished and everything. And of course, I know the inside story. I mean, I know most of the presenters who presented these conferences, and there is the real world that they actually live in, that they actually went through, and then there's this polished version that they show. So the good thing is that you're not going to see that next week. Manuel is going to be there. He's going to be live. He's going to be answering questions, and we're going to be totally upfront and like, yeah, we tried this, didn't work. Oh yeah, we realized that this is not perfect. So we're just going to show you the real thing. And of course, the folks. Oh, by the way, the folks who participated in the Power BI challenge, big thanks to everybody. If you are interested in participating in next time, just go to powerbichallenge.com, and you saw a little bit of that as well, where the real world is just. It's just different, and I have come to enjoy it. Not sometimes like, oh guys, this is so hard. I don't think about it that way. I enjoy those complexities or whatever that is, and also not be apologetic about it, and not none of those negative feelings. No apology, no guilt, no anger, right? And because it's time we acknowledge that that's how it's going to be. So company have spent millions. I know companies who have spent billions trying to clean up their. They didn't get anywhere. Yeah, I mean, really, the most fantastic story I've heard is they spent 4 billion over 3 years. Billion with a B. I asked the person like twice, and of course I can't name the company, but I met them face to face at a conference, and I know their position. I know where they worked. So it's a true story, my friends. 4 billion over 3 years. 0 reports. Right. So yeah. So you can go on this whole misguided adventure. I mean, companies come to me and they say, Avi, we spent the last 2 years building our data warehouse. Now we're ready for Power BI. And I'm like, kind of one of those facepalm things like, no, you were ready 2 years ago, right? So it's real business is messy, and that's how it is. Let's just embrace it. Let's celebrate it. And that's what Power BI lets you do. All right, my friends, see you next time. Power on.